Yuji Itadori, an ordinary boy with powerful physical abilities, and visits his ailing grandfather, who leaves him with one final message: always help others. However, when a cursed demon that looks like our exes breaks into the academy, and in a desperate choice to save his friends, Yuji swallows the finger of Ryomen Sukuna, the strongest special grade demon, forever altering his fate. And by the end of this, you'll probably forget who the main character even is, to be honest. Also, I left the subtitles there for those who wish to follow them. If not, feel free to ignore.
I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right.
In a mysterious room filled with magical objects, like my uncle's basement, Yuji Itadori, a high school student, finds himself bound to a chair, facing a blindfolded man named Satoru Gojo, the light skin that took your girl. This anime got real kinky already. As they converse, Yuji remembers his friend and senpai, Fushiguro, showing concern for his well-being. However, Gojo reminds Yuji of a secret execution scheduled for him, urging him not to worry about others. The previous day, Yuji called the Sujisawa hospital to check on his grandfather, who insisted he attend his club instead. On that night, a Jujutsu tech student named Megumi Fushiguro came to Sujisawa High to retrieve a cursed object. Unable to find it, like your father, he sought guidance from Satoru Gojo, who instructed him to return only after recovering the object. At school, Yuji is part of the occult club with his friends Iguchi and Sasaki. The student council president threatens to disband the club due to its inactivity. In a bid to prove their worth, they claim that supernatural occurrences are affecting students on the rugby field. However, the president dismisses their idea, revealing that Yuji is officially registered in the track and field team. The team's coach interrupts the discussion, seeking Yuji's help to win the nationals. To settle the matter, they decide to have a competition between the occult club and the track and field team. Meanwhile, Megumi searches for the cursed object he needs and witnesses Yuji's impressive shot-putting performance, breaking the world record. This secures Yuji's spot in the occult club, and he chooses to stay with them for personal reasons. Megumi is impressed by Yuji's skills and compares him to Maki Zenin, an upperclassman from Jujutsu Tech. As Megumi is about to confront Yuji about the cursed energy he senses, Yuji rushes to the hospital to see his grandfather. Their encounter is filled with tension, as Yuji's grandfather tries to share important information about his parents, but Yuji refuses to listen, leading to an argument. In a heartfelt moment, the old man imparts a crucial message to Yuji, urging him to use his special abilities to save others so that he can pass away surrounded by people. Shortly after, Yuji's grandfather peacefully passes away. Devastated by his grandfather's death, Yuji packs his belongings and goes to the hospital lobby to complete paperwork. There, he encounters Megumi, who introduces himself. Despite Yuji's grief, Megumi insists on discussing the cursed object found by the occult club. Yuji agrees to hand it over but finds it empty, revealing that his friends have the real object and plan to unseal it. Megumi warns Yuji about the dangers of unsealing the object, as it could put his friends in serious danger. Nevertheless, Yuji rushes to the school, where Sasaki and Iguchi are attempting to unseal the cursed object. As curses begin to manifest, Yuji arrives, and Megumi advises him to stay back. However, Yuji is determined to help his friends and faces the dangerous situation inside the school. Inside, Sasaki hides from the curses, and Iguchi falls under the control of a small curse. As more powerful curses appear, Megumi enters the building and engages in combat using Jujutsu techniques and summoning his divine dogs. Outside, Yuji hesitates but ultimately decides to confront his fear of death, remembering his grandfather's words about helping others. In the building, the situation becomes increasingly dire as more curses appear. Yuji's timely intervention saves his friends, and Megumi's divine dogs defeat some curses. Impressed by Yuji's courage, Megumi asks why he helped, and Yuji admits he acted to prevent a tragedy and ensure his friends receive a proper death. This anime just started and they already jumping someone. Welcome to Jujutsu Jumps in everyone. As Megumi prepares to retrieve the special grade cursed object, a powerful curse attacks, capturing him. Megumi tries to defend himself but is thrown outside, and due to his injuries, his divine dogs disappear. The curse threatens to eliminate Megumi, prompting Yuji to intervene despite lacking cursed energy. He decides to eat the cursed finger to gain the energy needed to save everyone. But Megumi is worried as this could awaken the dangerous curse, Ryomen Sukuna, within Yuji. Nonetheless, Yuji manages to regain control over his body by suppressing Sukuna's power. Megumi prepares to summon a Shikigami, intending to confront the cursed Yuji Itadori. Fushiguro declared that he would treat Yuji as if he were a curse, but Yuji raised his arms to show that he meant no harm and was in control of himself. He suggested they both needed to go to the hospital, but Megumi was unsure if it was a trick from the curse. Before Megumi could decide, his teacher, Satoru Gojo, arrived.
ボロボロだね。2年のみんなに見せやった。
Gojo explained that the elders were concerned about the cursed object, so he came to check on Megumi's progress. Surprisingly, Yuji admitted that he had eaten the cursed finger. Upon examining Yuji, Gojo realized that Sukuna, the powerful curse, had merged with him. To test Yuji's control, Gojo asked him to switch with Sukuna for 10 seconds while he fought and Megumi held his Kikyufuku. Megumi was worried about his teacher's recklessness.
大丈夫。僕最強だから。
But Yuji allowed Sukuna to take over. The curse attacked first, but Gojo effortlessly used Sukuna's as a chair and strikes with incredible speed. He showed off his skills and landed several amazing attacks on Sukuna. However, Sukuna attempted to finish the fight, but Gojo easily repelled the curse's attacks and counted down the final few seconds until Yuji regained control. Yuji easily regained control of his body. Gojo tested him further by knocking him out to see if he woke up as himself, indicating his potential as a vessel for Sukuna. Megumi pleaded with Gojo not to let Yuji be executed as per Jujutsu rules, and Gojo promised to grant his request. Later, Gojo revealed to Yuji that the Jujutsu elders initially ordered his execution, but he convinced them to suspend it. Yuji had the potential to be a vessel for Sukuna and could consume all 20 of Sukuna's fingers. Gojo convinced them not to execute Yuji until he ate all the fingers, making him valuable to Jujutsu tech. After the incident, Yuji visited Sasaki and Iguchi in the hospital. He told them the truth about the situation and blamed himself for what happened. Before leaving, he assured Sasaki that a sorcerer would come to heal Iguchi. Outside the hospital, Yuji met Gojo to talk about his decision. Gojo explained that people were lucky to die a normal death after encountering a curse, emphasizing the danger of curses in the world. Gojo then took Yuji to the morgue, where he collected his grandfather's ashes and decided to swallow the second cursed finger whole. Gojo waited to see if Yuji would lose control after swallowing the cursed finger, but Yuji struggled mainly because it was gross and not due to Sukuna's influence. This proved that he could control Sukuna, a rare talent not seen in 1,000 years. Yuji didn't want to be executed and decided to fight curses and digest all of Sukuna's fingers. Gojo agreed and told him to pack his bags. Later, Yuji met Megumi, who had been treated for injuries, and they joined Gojo on a journey to Tokyo Jujutsu Technical School. Before Yuji could be accepted, he had an interview with the principal, who held the power to order his execution. Sukuna threatened to eliminate Gojo once he took over Yuji completely, but Gojo was built different.
先生とどっちが強い？負けちゃう？勝つさ。
During the interview, Yuji introduced himself, and the principal, Masamichi Yaga, asked why he wanted to enroll. Yuji's initial answer about wanting to help people as someone else's dying wish wasn't enough for Yaga. Yaga used cursed corpse dolls to attack Yuji until he gave a more acceptable answer. Yuji finally realized that he had to stop Sukuna to live without regrets, and his determination impressed Yaga, who accepted him into the school.
合格だ。あ、すまん。術式解くのを忘れてた。
Gojo took Yuji to his dorm and explained that with Sukuna inside him, Yuji could help find the other cursed fingers. They met Megumi in the next room, feeling disappointed that Yuji would be living nearby. Gojo revealed their plan to pick up the third first-year student, Nobara Kyujisaki, the next day. Thus, Yuji's journey as a Jujutsu sorcerer began at school, where he would face challenges, discover his true potential, and learn how to jump people, embark on a path to confront the dangerous curses threatening the world. Nobara Kyujisaki, a first-year student, finally arrives in Tokyo, fulfilling her dream of leaving her countryside hometown, which she once shared with her friend Sayori. Yuji and Megumi eagerly wait for her outside the train station in Harajuku. Wondering why their class is so small, Yuji questions if he was the third first-year student to arrive. Megumi clarifies that Nobara's acceptance was granted a while ago, but Jujutsu students are rare. Just then, Gojo arrives and compliments Yuji's new uniform, which he specially ordered with a hood. Nobara had requested to meet in Harajuku, and her attention is caught by a man scouting models. Fearlessly, she demands to be interviewed by him until Gojo calls out to her, revealing his unusual blindfold. After securing her belongings in a coin locker, Nobara introduces herself as a confident young woman, claiming the boys in their group are fortunate to have her. Though Yuji and Megumi introduce themselves, Nobara doesn't appear impressed. Gojo proposes a tour of Tokyo, but instead, he leads them to an abandoned building near a cemetery infested with curses. Surprised that Yuji, a Jujutsu student, doesn't know about curses, Nobara is further grossed out upon learning about Sukuna's finger. Gojo then reveals that this is a test for both Nobara and Yuji. He hands Yuji a curse knife named Slaughter Demon and restricts him from using Sukuna's power. Their objective is to eliminate all the curses inside the building. Yuji and Nobara venture into the building together while Megumi stays back as it's Nobara's test. However, Nobara insists that Yuji search downstairs while she goes upstairs. Despite Yuji's disagreement, Nobara pushes him away determinedly. As Yuji grapples with confusion about her behavior, he suddenly gets attacked from above by a cursed spirit. Reacting swiftly, he uses the curse knife to defeat the curse. Gojo notes that Yuji's craziness to fight curses without hesitation, despite being a normal student, makes him suitable for dealing with the grotesque nature of curses. This field test aims to gauge Nobara's level of craziness. Inside the building, Nobara encounters a cursed corpse disguised as a possessed mannequin. Utilizing her cursed energy-infused nails, she pierces the mannequin's face, forcing the curse to reveal itself. While Nobara may have experienced, curses in the city are much stronger than those in the countryside, gaining power from human emotions and strength from the population. The cursed corpse confronts Nobara, but she skillfully destroys its head using her cursed nails. In the process, she discovers a frightened child hiding nearby. Initially hesitant to come out, the child reveals that a curse is nearby, taking him hostage. Nobara knows she should prioritize her own survival to exorcise the curse, but she makes a selfless decision to surrender in an attempt to protect the boy. However, the situation turns grim, and the curse threatens to eliminate the child despite Nobara's surrender. In this dire moment, Nobara draws strength from memories of her friend Sayori. Just as the curse is about to strike, Yuji bursts in through the rear wall, cutting off the curse's arm and freeing the boy. While Yuji secures the hostage, the curse tries to escape. Nobara demonstrates her abilities by using her straw doll technique on the severed arm and her resonance ability to exorcise the curse. She pierces the arm and her straw doll with a nail, effectively neutralizing the curse. After the mission, Gojo commends Nobara and Yuji for their excellent performance. They safely return the boy to his home, and Gojo offers to treat them to dinner as a reward. However, Nobara realizes she left her belongings in a coin locker back in Harajuku and orders Yuji to retrieve them. Despite Yuji's reluctance, Nobara argues that they succeeded in the mission thanks to her curse technique. Yuji admits his strength played a part but believes it came from eating Sukuna's finger. When Yuji seeks Megumi's support, Megumi remains silent, seemingly upset because he had to sit out of the exercise. Sometime later, the three Jujutsu students are called to exorcism a cursed womb, a dangerous and challenging task. Kiyotaka Ejichi, the assistant manager at Tokyo Jujutsu High, leads first-year students Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, and Nobara Kudasaki to a detention center. Their mission is to deal with a cursed womb that has been spotted inside detainee Block 2, where 5 hostages are held. The potential presence of a special grade cursed spirit adds immense danger to the situation. Ejichi explains to the students what a special grade is and warns them that if they encounter one, their only options are to run or face certain death. A distraught mother pleads with the students to save her son, which deeply motivates Yuji. He firmly believes that they must save everyone, and his classmates stand in agreement. Ejichi erects a curtain, a powerful barrier that conceals them from the outside world. Megumi summons his white divine dog, a Shikigami, to warn them of any approaching curses. Their objective is to assess the situation inside the detention center and rescue any survivors. Inside the center, Megumi quickly realizes that they are trapped within a curse's innate domain, a unique curse technique. While Yuji and Nobara panic comically, Megumi remains composed, relying on his white divine dog to detect any threats. As they explore further, they sadly come across the lifeless bodies of the trapped humans, including the distressed woman's son, Tadashi. Yuji suggests bringing Tadashi's body outside, but Megumi adamantly refuses. He explains that Tadashi is a hostage due to his past offenses, including hitting a little girl while driving without a license. I see it as just an extra speed bump. Megumi points out Yuji's belief in guiding people to proper deaths, raising the question of what happens when someone Yuji saves ends up harming innocent people. Yuji counters by asking why Megumi saved him in the first place. This argument stirs tension between them, while Nobara becomes frustrated with their bickering. Suddenly, during their heated exchange, a curse grabs Nobara and pulls her through the floor. Megumi is puzzled as to why his white divine dog didn't sense the threat, only to discover that the dog has been defeated without him noticing. He urgently tells Yuji that they need to flee, but they find themselves confronted by the fearsome special grade cursed spirit, a horrifying sight that terrifies them both.
Itadori! Nigeru!
Despite his fear, Yuji bravely attempts to attack the special grade with his cursed knife, Slaughter Demon, only to get his left hand severely injured and the knife shattered. Meanwhile, Nobara finds herself surrounded by several large masked curses in a strange and dangerous area. Megumi escapes the situation by summoning Nu, his Shikigami, and promises to locate and rescue Nobara before she comes to harm. However, Nobara is left with just one nail in her arsenal, unsure of how to use cursed energy. As Yuji and Megumi flee, they are pursued relentlessly by the special grade curse, which overwhelms them with its immense power. Encouraging Megumi to continue searching for Nobara, Yuji decides to confront the special grade alone. Megumi rushes to find Nobara with the aid of his black divine dog, determined to protect her from harm. Facing the special grade, Yuji struggles to hold back the torrent of cursed energy unleashed by the curse. In a moment of emotional vulnerability, he realizes that he can't accept a proper death, breaking down in tears as he believes he will die here. However, this poignant realization leads him to a revelation. He must channel his negative emotions into his fist. With newfound determination, he charges forward, reinforcing his fist with cursed energy and attempting to strike back at the special grade curse. Although the special grade easily catches Yuji's punch, he manages to buy enough time for Megumi to rescue Nobara from the dangerous curses in the domain. At the same moment, Yuji discovers that he can safely unleash Sukuna's power, leading Sukuna to take control of Yuji's body. Initially annoyed at the situation, Sukuna attempts to revert everything to the way it was, but the special grade curse refuses to cooperate and attacks him. Sukuna effortlessly deflects the curse's attacks and accidentally regenerates Yuji's left hand in the process. He realizes that the curse prefers death over leaving its point of origin. Sukuna effortlessly overpowers the special grade curse while Megumi manages to secure Nobara and reunite with the Jichi. As Ajichi goes to fetch a grade 1 sorcerer, Megumi stays outside, ready to intervene if Sukuna goes on a rampage for too long. However, to everyone's surprise, Yuji does not regain control of his body. Sukuna waits for Yuji to switch back but is met with silence. A wicked grin spreads across Sukuna's face as he realizes that Yuji isn't switching back to gain control over his body. While waiting anxiously outside the detention center, Megumi notices that the cursed womb's innate domain has mysteriously disappeared. He assumes he just needs to wait for Yuji to switch back. But to his shock, Sukuna, the powerful curse possessing Yuji, appears before him. Sukuna is surprisingly in a good mood, but he blames Yuji for recklessly using his power without making a proper pact with him. He informs Megumi that Yuji can't switch back at the moment, and to prevent Yuji from regaining control, Sukuna callously rips out Yuji's heart. With Yuji's life now at risk, Sukuna has essentially taken him hostage, as any attempt to switch back would result in immediate death. To further solidify his dominance, Sukuna eats another one of the fingers, strengthening his control over Yuji's body. Megumi finds himself facing a formidable foe, with Sukuna prepared to eliminate him without any specific reason. Irony pervades the situation as they are now reversed from when they first met, with Megumi now at Sukuna's mercy. Despite the danger he faces, Megumi refuses to give in and firmly believes that Yuji will switch back, even if it means risking his own life. Sukuna taunts Yuji, calling him a coward who cried on the inside during the fight against the special grade curse. Unperturbed by Sukuna's provocations, Megumi notices that Sukuna is capable of using a reverse curse technique, a powerful and rare ability. Determined to fight back, Megumi decides to confront Sukuna, realizing that without a heart, Sukuna can be forced to heal. He summons Nu, his Shikigami, and engages in close combat with Sukuna. However, Sukuna easily toys with him, displaying his overwhelming strength, agility, and cunning. Megumi tries to surprise Sukuna by attacking from above using his Orochi technique, but Sukuna swiftly destroys Orochi and continues to overpower him effortlessly. Throughout the fight, Sukuna questions Megumi's actions, asking why he ran away from the cursed womb instead of standing his ground. In response, Megumi reflects on his past, recalling his unfairly cursed sister and his absent father. He acknowledges that true fairness is rare in the world and that karma doesn't always rectify every injustice. Despite this, he chooses to save people based on his own conviction, even if it means doing so unequally. Megumi saved Yuji because he didn't want to witness a good person's death, even though he had doubts and reservations. He believes that such actions are acceptable because he is a sorcerer, not necessarily a hero. As the intense battle unfolds, Yuji regains control of his body and listens to Megumi's confession that he never regretted saving him. However, Yuji's injuries become too severe, and he implores his friends to live long and fulfilling lives before losing consciousness. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, 4 mysterious figures discuss why one of them used a Sukuna finger to test Sukuna's strength. These enigmatic beings can walk among regular people, but only the man accompanying them is visible to others. Later, Gojo meets with Ajichi at the school morgue and learns that Yuji was most likely set up by the higher-ups, who sent him on a dangerous mission while Gojo was away. Furious, Gojo threatens the higher-ups for endangering Yuji's life. School doctor Shoko Iiri arrives, and Gojo grants her permission to dissect Yuji's body for research purposes. Meanwhile, Megumi and Nobara are grief-stricken over Yuji's death and attempt to hide their emotions when they are approached by second-year Jujutsu students Maki Zenin, Tojin Yumaki, and Panda. Yuta Akatsu, another second-year student, is currently studying overseas and not present. Panda apologizes for Maki's brusqueness and invites Megumi and Nobara to participate in the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event, an annual battle between Jujutsu schools. With Yuji's absence, Tokyo High needs more participants, and joining the event could help them grow stronger. Although heartbroken over Yuji's loss, Megumi and Nobara agree to participate in the Goodwill event to honor Yuji's memory and improve their skills. Meanwhile, at a meeting between a sorcerer and cursed spirits, the curses seek advice on how to defeat sorcerers and establish their dominance on Earth. Their ultimate goal is to incapacitate Satoru Gojo, the most powerful sorcerer, and potentially gain Sukuna's allegiance. While they believe Yuji to be dead, the sorcerer remains uncertain. Yuji finds himself inside Sukuna's mind and confronts the curse, believing they are in some kind of afterlife. However, Sukuna corrects him, stating that they are in a suspended state of existence within Yuji's mind. Sukuna then proposes a deal to fix Yuji's heart, but it comes with 2 conditions. First, Sukuna asks for the ability to use Yuji's body for a minute whenever he says a specific key phrase. Second, Sukuna wants Yuji to forget about their conversation entirely. Yuji, however, refuses to comply with Sukuna's terms. He fears that Sukuna won't keep his promise not to harm anyone during that minute he takes over Yuji's body. The two continue to clash over the conditions of the deal, and Sukuna reveals that their pact cannot be broken without severe consequences for him. In their disagreement, they decide to settle the matter through a fight to the death. The scene shifts to Gojo expressing his frustration. He acknowledges that teaching isn't his natural style, but he understands the need to train strong sorcerers with progressive ideals to change the flawed community. Gojo believes that students like Akatsu and Hikari have the potential to match his strength and become valuable allies in the fight against curses. Yuji's death is a significant loss for him due to the young boy's immense potential. As Shoko is about to begin dissecting Yuji's body, to her surprise, he suddenly comes back to life. Gojo is relieved to see his student alive, and he decides to keep it a secret to protect Yuji from further danger. He plans to train Yuji privately and get him ready for the Goodwill event. More like teach him how to jump people better, but you know. Meanwhile, Suguru Gito and the cursed spirits gather to discuss their plan to eliminate Gojo. They intend to use a special grade cursed object called Prison Realm to achieve their goal. Jogo is particularly excited about the plan and declares his determination to take Prison Realm for himself and seek revenge on Gojo. The meeting quickly turns into a deadly inferno, with everyone in the diner perishing in the flames. Megumi visits Tadashi's mother to apologize for not being able to save him and offers her his name tag as a token of remembrance. Later, he and Nobara engage in close combat training to improve their skills. Meanwhile, Gojo continues to train Yuji to control his cursed energy. He explains the difference between cursed energy and cursed techniques, using the analogy of electricity and appliances. Gojo helps Yuji learn to channel cursed energy into his fists, but Yuji feels discouraged, knowing that he won't have access to 80% of a normal sorcerer's abilities. Gojo encourages Yuji to control his emotions and cursed energy effectively, which will allow him to incorporate Jujutsu into his fighting style. Back at the school, Megumi discovers that he can store cursed tools within his shadow, giving him new possibilities for his fighting style. Meanwhile, Nobara goes shopping for a new tracksuit. As Yuji continues his movie-watching training, he struggles to maintain focus, leading to the cursed doll attacking him as a consequence. Gojo emphasizes the importance of concentration and controlling emotions during training. Before leaving to meet with the principal of Kyoto Jujutsu High, Gojo checks in with Yuji about his conversation with Sukuna. However, Yuji can't recall if he had spoken to Sukuna or not, raising concerns about the potential influence of Sukuna's presence within him. As Gojo and Ajichi drive towards Kyoto, they encounter a disturbance and decide to investigate. Gojo instructs Ajichi to continue driving alone while he stays behind. Suddenly, Jogo appears and confronts Gojo, leading to an intriguing encounter between two powerful sorcerers. As Jogo attempts to crush Gojo, the sorcerer effortlessly dodges the attack, causing the cursed spirit to crash into the road and create an opening. Gojo remains calm and composed, inquiring about Jogo's identity, but the cursed spirit responds by creating a volcano-like head that shoots a powerful magma explosion at Gojo from behind, thinking he has defeated the sorcerer. However, Gojo's plot armor protects him from the eruption, and he easily wipes away the ash and lava, showcasing his incredible strength and resilience. Despite the attack, Gojo remains confident and warns Jogo not to underestimate his plot armor. The confrontation between the two powerful individuals sets the stage for an intense battle between the sorcerer and the cursed spirit. Gojo was surprised to encounter a curse that could communicate clearly, and Jogo claimed to have more plot armor energy than Sukuna at his current level, making him an unregistered special grade. However, Gojo reminded Jogo that having too much special plot armor would cause GG to eliminate you in the future. Jogo accused Gojo of losing heart, but the sorcerer disagreed, finding the situation quite enjoyable. To avoid interference from other sorcerers, Jogo chose a remote location for their battle. He unleashed ember insects to attack Gojo, but the sorcerer easily stopped them. The insects used sound to explode, but Gojo dodged the attacks effortlessly. Feeling overconfident, Jogo launched two more flaming attacks, believing he had won. However, Gojo remained unaffected by the attacks. The battle was far from over, and Gojo was just getting started. Jogo was confused about what was happening, and Gojo told him there was an unbeatable gap between them, like an infinity, which basically means his broken plot armor. No matter how hard Jogo tried, he couldn't touch Gojo. Taunting the cursed spirit, Gojo proceeded to unleash a barrage of attacks on Jogo, culminating in the powerful curse technique Reversal, Red. The force of the attack sends Jogo flying through the forest and into a nearby lake. This harsh beating makes Jogo realize the truth in Guido's warning that trying to eliminate Gojo would lead to his own demise. Gojo decides to do the most disrespectful thing in existence and leaves the battlefield to bring Yuji, likely to witness how to disrespect someone 101. Gojo rushes to get Yuji and is surprised to see that his student is making quick progress in his training. He decides to teach Yuji about a powerful technique called domain expansion, which is the peak of all plot armor battles. He teleports Yuji to where he was fighting Jogo and explains that his student will learn from observing the battle. Jogo mocks Gojo for bringing someone who could hold him back, but Gojo believes Yuji won't be a hindrance since Jogo is too weak to make a difference. Jogo becomes furious and ejects flames from the volcanic ports on his head. Yuji is scared, but Gojo assures him he will be safe as long as he stays close. Jogo activates his domain expansion, creating the coffin of the Iron Mountain, trapping both Gojo and himself inside. With domain expansion, Jogo's abilities are boosted, and his natural technique charges into the domain. Any attacks unleashed inside the domain are guaranteed to hit their targets. Gojo explains that countering a domain expansion requires either using a curse technique to repel the automatic hit or escaping the domain, but neither option is recommended. Jogo is upset that despite his superior strength, Gojo still looks down on him as a human. Gojo reveals that the most effective way to counter a domain expansion is by casting one themselves. Jogo tries to attack, but Gojo activates his own domain expansion called Unlimited Void. This traps Jogo in a space where he receives an overwhelming amount of information from the universe, leaving him paralyzed. While Jogo is immobilized, Gojo seizes the opportunity and beheads him. Afterward, he dispels the barrier and attempts to interrogate Jogo to find out who sent him. Meanwhile, Guido and Hanami observe the situation from afar. Mahito remains hidden, leaving Hanami to deal with the aftermath. Before Gojo can extract any information from Jogo or exorcism him, an attack disrupts the scene. A spear-like plant emerges from the ground, creating a field of flowers that momentarily distracts Gojo. During this distraction, a wooden monster attacks Yuji, and Hanami seizes the opportunity to grab Jogo's head and disappear, impressing Gojo with their ability to hide their presence. Yuji apologizes for letting them escape, but Gojo reassures him, expressing his desire for his students to become strong enough to handle such powerful curses. For the next month, Gojo and Yuji will train and take on missions to prepare for the Goodwill event. However, Yuji has no idea what the Goodwill event is.
Hi, Sensei! Hi, Yuji-kun!
交流会って何?
On the grounds of Tokyo Jujutsu High, Megumi and Nobara find themselves doing tasks for Maki Zenin, another student at the school. Panda, their friend and fellow sorcerer, is worried about a meeting with students from Kyoto Jujutsu High because they have a reputation for being disrespectful and talkative. Suddenly, Toto and Mai Zenin, students from Kyoto, appear to confront Megumi and Nobara. They claim to be checking on them because a classmate of theirs died. But their real intention seems to be causing trouble. Mai starts making fun of the deceased classmate, which deeply upsets Megumi and Nobara. However, Toto seems uninterested in their emotions and declares that he is there to see if the replacements for Yuta Akatsu, their deceased classmate, will be interesting or not. Toto becomes curious about Megumi's taste in women and threatens to beat him up depending on his answer. He reveals that he likes tall girls and believes that a person's taste in women reflects their personality. Megumi, being an introverted person, tries to avoid the conversation, and Nobara defends him, saying that it's difficult for him to open up about such personal matters. This response doesn't please Toto, and he immediately folds Megumi, considering him boring. Nobara wants to help, but Mai restrains her. Toto's strength is impressive, and Megumi recognizes him as the powerful sorcerer who defeated several powerful curses in the past. During the battle, Megumi combines his new technique with the toad to create winged toads from his bottomless well ability. However, these efforts fail to stop Toto, who continues to overpower Megumi with sheer force. With the help of his friends Panda and Toji, Megumi is eventually saved from Toto's assault. Meanwhile, Mai shoots Nobara, but Maki arrives to help. The two sisters argue, and Toto takes Mai away to meet his favorite pop idol, Takada-chan. Before leaving, Toto asks Megumi and Nobara to pass along a message to Yuta. As they regroup and walk together, Nobara and Maki discuss their reasons for becoming sorcerers. Maki reveals her desire to defy her sorcerer family, who has always belittled her and looked down on her. At another location, Satoru Gojo arrives to meet with Principal Gakugenji secretly. Gojo holds Gakugenji responsible for Yuji's death and manipulates Ajichi to facilitate the meeting. Gojo believes that unregistered special grade curses and talented students will bring about a revolution in the Jujutsu world. Meanwhile, Toto successfully meets his favorite idol at an event, while 3 mutated corpses are found at the Kainma Cinema Movie Theater. Yuji Itadori and another sorcerer are assigned to investigate the strange incident. At Satazakura High School, Junpei Yoshino, a student facing bullying from his peers, is falsely accused of staring at their girlfriend's chest. He denies the accusation and dreams of a button that could make those who hate him disappear. One day, he skips school to watch a movie called Human Earthworm 3 at the theater, where he encounters his bullies once again. He realizes they are just using Tsubasa, the girl they're hanging out with, for attention and not because they genuinely care about her. When Junpei speaks up about this, the bullies react aggressively and attack him even more. Tragically, the bullies meet a gruesome fate as they are eliminated by the cursed spirit, Mahito, due to their disruptive behavior. After the authorities leave, 2 Jujutsu sorcerers,
脱サラ呪術師の七海健人くんです。
その言い方やめてください。
Yuji Itadori and Kento Nanami arrive to investigate the scene. Nanami, a grade 1 sorcerer, detects the residuals left behind by the curse technique that caused the body's distortion. Yuji struggles initially to perceive the residuals, but with effort and focus, he eventually learns to do so. As they follow the residuals to the roof of the building, they encounter 2 curses outside in the rain. Nanami suggests they each take on 1 curse. Yuji is determined to prove himself and insists on going all out to handle the situation. But Nanami disagrees, believing that moderate effort will be sufficient. Despite their different approaches, Yuji and Nanami seem to be getting along well so far. Nanami views Yuji as a young and inexperienced student who still needs guidance and protection. He believes that true adulthood is about facing and overcoming various challenges in life, not just life or death situations. Though Nanami does not yet consider Yuji a full-fledged sorcerer, his trust in Satoru Gojo, Yuji's mentor, leads him to support Yuji on this mission. During the fight with the curses, Nanami openly explains how his curse technique works, which becomes a distraction for Yuji as he struggles to concentrate on the fight and listen to Nanami's instructions simultaneously.
聞いてますか、Itadori君。
Nanami uses this opportunity to teach Yuji a lesson in battle strategy called showing one's hand, which enhances the effectiveness of one's abilities during combat. With Nanami's swift defeat of his opponent using this technique, Yuji becomes more focused and demonstrates the results of his training. He efficiently channels cursed energy into his fists, using the divergent fist technique taught to him by Gojo, which allows him to convert one strike into 2 impacts. With this technique, Yuji defeats his opponent, impressing Nanami. They later discover that the creatures they encountered were mutated ex-humans and take them to Shoko Iiri, a school doctor and sorcerer, for examination. Shoko reassures Yuji that they are no longer alive and that he shouldn't feel guilty for putting an end to their existence. Despite her explanation, Yuji is still enraged at the loss of so many lives, which surprises Nanami. Meanwhile, Mahito takes Junpei to his hideout and explains that curses manifest from the collective fears of humans. The next day, Nanami informs Yuji that he has located their target's hideout. However, he asks Yuji to follow a lead on Junpei, who is the only witness to the crime. Accompanied by Ajichi, they find Junpei and decide to keep a small curse trapped in a box wrapped in talismans to track Junpei's movements without alerting him. As they continue their investigation, the situation becomes increasingly complex and dangerous, leading to new challenges and mysteries for the young sorcerers. Junpei Yoshino used to run the movie club at Satazakura High School with his friends. However, their peaceful time was interrupted by a group of aggressive students who took over their room and bullied them. Junpei tried to retrieve one of his DVDs, leading to a physical confrontation with the bullies. His fellow club members ran away in fear, and a gang of bullies led by Shota Ito joined in on beating Junpei. This incident had a significant impact on Junpei's life. I guess even the bullies in this anime jump people too. In the present, Junpei finds himself engaging in a conversation with Mahito, the cursed spirit responsible for the gruesome making of his bullies. Mahito discusses Japanese wordplay related to the popular phrase "the opposite of love is indifference" and demonstrates his curse technique by showing Junpei some of his experiments. Mahito displays the ability to alter people's physical forms, manipulating their sizes to extremes, both large and small. He seems to be teaching Junpei about his powers and possibly trying to influence him in some way. Junpei's interaction with Mahito raises concerns about the potential danger and consequences of getting involved with curses and curse techniques. During their conversation, Junpei seems indifferent to the terrible nature of humans, and Mahito encourages him to embrace his hatred. They plan to act together, seemingly forming an alliance based on their shared negative views on life. Meanwhile, Yuji and Ajichi follow Junpei. Yuji is given an assignment to deal with weak cursed spirits called flyheads to test his abilities and connection to the theater incident. On the other hand, Nanami enters Mahito's hideout, expressing his dislike for killing mutated humans. Despite this, he faces Mahito, excited to fight a sorcerer weaker than Satoru Gojo but still strong enough for Mahito's experiments. Nanami is determined to finish the battle quickly, not wanting to work overtime. During their battle, Nanami notices the similarities between Mahito and Gojo. Both of them have a deceptive appearance, hiding immense power within. Nanami manages to catch Mahito off guard and injures him, but Mahito engages him in a philosophical conversation about the origin of body and soul. While Nanami believes the body comes first, Mahito claims it's the soul that shapes the body and can be altered using his curse technique called idol transfiguration. This revelation highlights the dangerous and potent nature of Mahito's abilities. As the battle continues underground, Junpei encounters his teacher, Satomura, outside of school. Their conversation escalates, almost leading to a physical confrontation. However, Yuji suddenly appears, accidentally releasing a fly head curse that creates a distraction. Yuji attempts to talk to Junpei, but Satomura keeps interfering. To create a private space for Junpei, Yuji takes off his pants and runs away with them. Back in the underground battle, Nanami struggles against Mahito's transfigured humans due to their altered shapes. Realizing that this matchup is unfavorable for his curse technique, Nanami decides to stall and flee down the sewer tunnel to buy time until he can go into overtime. As the clock approaches 6, Nanami's cursed energy unexpectedly begins to rise, surprising Mahito. As Nanami enters overtime, Mahito realizes that the sorcerer has imposed a time-based vow on himself, limiting his powers initially to gain greater strength once he surpasses the time limit. Nanami's technique is revealed, further increasing his power and making Mahito take him seriously. With incredible speed, Nanami considers two options to deal with Mahito. He could try to wear him down until he runs out of cursed energy, but that seems impractical. Alternatively, he could go for a powerful strike and attempt to annihilate Mahito in one blow. Nanami decides to make his move and jumps, using his ratio technique, collapse to strike one of the walls. The expanded curse technique is so powerful that Nanami's punch shatters the wall, releasing shockwaves of his cursed energy streaking through the air. Mahito realizes he must avoid this attack, but before he can react, Nanami swiftly cuts off his own leg and announces that he's retreating. As Nanami moves away, the debris from the shattered wall falls on the curse, seemingly crushing him. On the other side, Yuji and Junpei find themselves together near a river close to a set of stairs. Yuji tries to contact Ajichi, but he's occupied with dealing with the other fly-head curse. Junpei notices the swirly button on Yuji's uniform, which indicates that he is a sorcerer. Yuji decides to be honest and asks Junpei about what happened at the movie theater. However, Junpei denies witnessing anything and claims that he has only recently gained the ability to see curses. Yuji believes Junpei's explanation and decides to sit down with him. Unbeknownst to them, Gito watches from above and is pleased to see that they've made a connection with Yuji, indicating that this encounter might serve Gito's ulterior motives. The two boys engage in a conversation about movies when suddenly Junpei's mother, Nagi Yoshino, comes across them and invites Yuji to join them for dinner. In the underground, Gito searches for Mahito and is impressed by the aftermath of the battle with Nanami. Mahito, on the other hand, is content as he feels he has learned a lot more about himself from the intense battle. While Yuji enjoys dinner with Junpei and Nagi Yoshino, they have a pleasant time together, talking, eating, and sharing laughs. However, as Nagi falls asleep, Junpei reminisces about the love he has for his mother and how she brought happiness into his life. Back at Jujutsu High, Yuji prepares to confront Mahito with Nanami's help. As they prepare, Nanami worries about Yuji being forced to eliminate transfigured humans, and he asks Yuji to keep an eye on Junpei instead. Nanami believes that Junpei is being misled by Mahito, and he fears that the curse is preying on the boy's broken heart, directing his anger towards those who hurt him in the past. As Nanami and Yuji proceed with their plan, Mahito and Gito observe from a distance, with Mahito casting a curtain of curse energy over the entire place. Their plan is to manipulate Yuji into making a binding vow with Sukuna by using Junpei. In the school's auditorium, all the students faint upon Junpei's arrival, leaving only Shota and the teacher Satomura conscious. Junpei questions Shota about the Sukuna finger found in his home, but Shota claims to know nothing about it. Driven by his newfound powers as a sorcerer, Junpei uses Jujutsu to poison Shota. As Junpei is about to deliver a potentially fatal blow, Yuji rushes into the gymnasium, confronting him about the situation. Despite Yuji's intervention, Junpei insists on proceeding with his plan, revealing his determination to seek revenge and carry out his dark intentions, regardless of Yuji's attempts to stop him. The situation reaches a critical point as emotions, powers, and dangerous curses intertwine, setting the stage for an intense and gripping confrontation between Yuji, Junpei, and the manipulative forces behind the scenes. As Nanami enters overtime, he warns Yuji not to go to Satazakura High School, fearing that the dangerous patch face curse might still be alive due to the curtain Mahito cast there. Nanami asks Ino to deal with the transfigured humans in the city sewers while he focuses on the situation at the school. Despite Nanami's advice, Yuji's determination to protect others leads him to go to the school anyway. At the school, Yuji witnesses Junpei attacking Shota Ito, one of the students who previously bullied him. A clash between Yuji and Junpei ensues, but Yuji struggles to deal with Junpei's soft and protective jellyfish Shikigami, Moon Dregs. This Shikigami absorbs the impact of Yuji's punches and shields Junpei, making it difficult for Yuji to reach him. Junpei is disillusioned with humanity, believing that people have no hearts, and morality's rules are all illusions. He reveals that Mahito taught him Jujutsu and the curse technique to summon the jellyfish Shikigami, which he controls with his cursed energy. In the midst of the confrontation, Junpei expresses his belief that indiscriminate salvation is not a reality, and that no one has the right to stop someone else from taking a life. Despite Junpei's distorted perspective, Yuji remains determined to reach out to him and help him find the person responsible for his mother's death. Yuji manages to break through the jellyfish Shikigami's defenses and tries to convince Junpei to change his path. However, Mahito interrupts the moment of connection and immobilizes Yuji. As Mahito manipulates Junpei and pits him against Yuji, Junpei begins to realize the darkness of Mahito's true intentions. Yuji pleads for Sukuna's help, but Mahito reveals that Sukuna has made a binding vow, unbeknownst to Yuji, and thus refuses to assist jumping people. In the ensuing battle, Yuji's rage grows, and he becomes determined to exorcism Mahito.
I'm right, I'm left, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right.
Mahito tries to force Yuji to rely on Sukuna through a binding vow, but Yuji is determined to face Mahito on his terms. The battle intensifies as Yuji and Mahito clash, with Mahito's powers of transformation and soul manipulation testing Yuji's limits. However, Yuji's rage and resolve empower him, and he gains the upper hand in the fight. As Yuji delivers a powerful blow to Mahito, Nanami arrives just in time to intervene. Nanami and Yuji team up to fight Mahito, using their unique abilities to create openings for each other. They discover that Mahito's curse technique doesn't work on Yuji, and for some reason, Mahito can't touch Yuji's soul. Realizing this advantage, Nanami and Yuji prepare for round 2 in their battle against Mahito, with the grade 1 sorcerer Nanami declaring that they must exercise the curse right then and there. Oh boy, here we go, jumps in back at it again. The stakes are high, and the tension rises as they face off against the dangerous and manipulative Mahito. The fate of those involved hangs in the balance, and the battle for justice and redemption unfolds in the city sewers of Satazakura High School. After realizing the need to work together, Nanami and Yuji strategize to create openings and exorcise Mahito quickly. Mahito responds by transforming his arm into a blade and conjuring a ball of spikes to defend himself. However, their coordinated attacks catch him off guard, and he is unable to transform in time to escape their onslaught. They notice that Mahito's cursed energy stores up before each transformation, allowing them to anticipate his moves. In an attempt to gain an advantage, Mahito transforms into a child version of himself, but Nanami and Yuji remain steadfast. They quickly deduce that his transformations have a time limit, and he returns to his normal size to regurgitate small transfigured humans, which he then mutates to attack Yuji. Focusing on getting rid of Nanami, Mahito underestimates Yuji's determination to save others, even if it means eliminating cursed beings. As Yuji struggles to deal with the transfigured children, he grapples with the difficult decision he has to make. With newfound determination, Yuji and Nanami coordinate their jumping skills to overwhelm Mahito before he can shapeshift. They deliver powerful blows and disrupt his transformations, putting him on the defensive. I'm starting to think the plot of this anime is about whoever can jump someone first. However, Mahito is not so easily defeated. He activates his domain expansion, creating the self-embodiment of perfection. Nanami finds himself trapped inside the domain, and he reflects on his past while trying to escape. He recalls a defining moment when he saved a bakery girl from a cursed spirit, and this act of kindness led him to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. As Nanami struggles inside the domain, Yuji, unable to help from within, fights to maintain his composure outside. He is left to face his own moral dilemma and wrestles with the consequences of his actions. Mahito's domain proves almost impossible to escape, and Nanami prepares to accept his fate. However, Yuji refuses to abandon his friend and breaks into the domain from the outside, exploiting its weaker barrier. Sukuna takes control and ruthlessly attacks Mahito, revealing the curse's vulnerability to Sukuna's soul. With Mahito injured and on the run, Yuji pursues him. Despite their victory, the battle has taken a toll on Yuji and Nanami. They regroup and tend to their injuries, knowing that their dangerous adversary is still at large. Mahito seeks refuge underground, reflecting on Sukuna's power and the impending age of curses. His obsession with killing Yuji clouds his judgment, distracting him from the bigger picture. After recovering from his injuries, Yuji meets Nanami in a morgue. Nanami imparts wisdom about the complexities of life and death, highlighting the ambiguity of morality. He acknowledges Yuji as a sorcerer and stresses the importance of staying alive to continue helping others. The school takes measures to counter bullying, and the faculty vows to expose troublemakers. Satoru Gojo and Nanami continue to support Yuji in his journey, providing guidance and encouragement. Reflecting on the events, Yuji vows not to lose again until he eliminates Mahito. His determination to protect others and defeat curses fuels his resolve to overcome any challenges that come his way. He embraces his role as a Jujutsu sorcerer, committed to saving lives and standing against the threats of curses. In a serene hot spring nestled within a lush forest, Jogo finds himself in rough shape after a conflict with Sukuna's vessel, Yuji. Ito and Mahito appear, and Mahito excitedly jumps into the spring, relieved to see Jogo's body has regenerated. The three cursed beings discuss their plans, with Mahito proposing the idea of taking a hostage to manipulate Sukuna. However, Gito points out that binding vows must be entered willingly, and Sukuna would never collaborate with them. Instead, Mahito suggests winning Sukuna over by offering him the remaining fingers of the King of Curses. The idea is to support Sukuna's rise to power, envisioning a world controlled by curses, even if they themselves are not there to witness it. Both Jogo and Mahito are willing to sacrifice themselves for this cause. However, Gito has a different plan in mind. He reveals that he allowed Jujutsu to take possession of the 6 fingers stored at the school because he intends to reclaim them. Gito considers Jujutsu's actions regarding Yuji to be too dangerous, and he seeks to undo their plan and take back the fingers for his own purposes. Meanwhile, Gojo and Nanami have their usual banter, with Gojo irritating Nanami as usual.
動画上げて炎上しようぜ。
何が分かったんだか。
Nanami asks Gojo to maintain his upbeat attitude for Yuji's sake. Gojo admits that the mission has been tougher than expected, and it was not what he meant by hard missions for training. Nanami is relieved that Gojo didn't tell Yuji about the finger that led to Junpei's mother's death, and Gojo confirms that he has submitted the information to the higher-ups instead. He argues that Yuji should hear about it directly from him. Yuji suddenly appears, excited to return to school, meet the second years, and reunite with his friends.
ユージ、もしかして。
違うの？
Yuji and Gojo plan to make a surprise return to get positive reactions from everyone. But Nanami believes Yuji's return alone will be surprising enough. At another location, Nobara meets with Megumi and the second-year students and wonders why they haven't packed for Kyoto. Panda explains that the Goodwill event is not being held in Kyoto this time. Since Yuda Akatsu dominated last year's event, this year's competition is taking place in Tokyo. Shortly after, the Kyoto Jujutsu students arrive in Tokyo for the Goodwill event. Nobara demands souvenirs from them, scaring one of the Kyoto students, Momo. Mechamaru, another Kyoto student, comments on how Nobara and Megumi won't be able to keep up with them. But Noritoshi Kamo believes in Megumi's talent as a sorcerer from the Zenin family. Yudaheim, the counselor of the Kyoto school, also arrives and is looking for Gojo. Gojo, as usual, arrives late, bearing souvenirs for all the Kyoto students. He reveals that Yuji is alive, assuming everyone will be thrilled about it. However, to his surprise, Megumi and Nobara show the opposite reaction, not happy at all. Their reactions crush Yuji emotionally, as he had hoped for a warm welcome. The Kyoto students are also indifferent to Yuji's return, not paying much attention to him. Principal Gakuganji is surprised to see Yuji as well, and Gojo teasingly provokes him about it.
いやー、よかったよかった。
Nobara is upset with Yuji for keeping quiet for 2 months and demands answers. Yuji apologizes and officially rejoins his class. Principal Yaga punishes Gojo for his lateness, and then he explains the rules of the team battle, spirit bash race. The teams must exorcism a grade 2 curse lurking around the battlefield, which is also infested with many grade 3 and lower curses. The first team to exorcism the grade 2 curse or the team with the most exorcisms by sunset will be the winner. In the Tokyo team meeting, Nobara scolds Yuji for keeping quiet and lies about Slaughter Demon. Panda and Toads try to stop her, using their abilities to communicate. Toad's power allows him to amplify his commands with cursed energy, making his words more compelling. Maki inquires about Yuji's role in the team, and Megumi explains that in a fight without cursed energy, Yuji would emerge victorious.
戸様返せよ。ゲル。
In the Kyoto team meeting, the principal instructs his students to use cursed energy to eliminate Yuji, preventing his revival. Todo gets annoyed and leaves the meeting, while Momo and Kasumi are unsure about carrying out such an order. Noritoshi suggests they attack Yuji together. And here we go again, Jujutsu jumps in everyone. The only anime that doesn't respect the ones. Meanwhile, Gojo meets with Yudaheim to discuss the possibility of a mole within the school working with curse users and curses. Back at the Tokyo team meeting, Megumi confronts Yuji about what happened during the 2 months he was gone. Yuji admits that he lost someone but assures Megumi that he's okay now. Both Megumi and Yuji agree that they don't want to lose in the upcoming Goodwill event. As the Tokyo team heads to the battlefield, Yuji takes the lead, but Maki kicks him aside, unimpressed by his overconfidence. The Goodwill event kicks off with Gojo and Yudaheim addressing the students from both Tokyo and Kyoto. However, Gojo quickly takes over and starts the event in his usual exuberant manner. The teams rush into the forested area to find the grade 2 curse they must exorcism. Yuji, Megumi, and Maki follow the divine dogs, who lead them to a weaker grade 3 curse, when suddenly, Todo confronts them alone. Yuji decides to take on Todo by himself, while the rest of his team splits up to handle other curses. Although the initial plan is for Yuji to stall for time while the others exercise the curses, Yuji is determined to win the fight, not just buy time. He launches a flying knee attack at Todo, but Todo quickly recovers and counters with a powerful punch that sends Yuji flying through the trees. Todo continues his assault, and it seems like Yuji has fallen unconscious. As Yuji faces off against the Kyoto team, he realizes that Karma is coming back after jumping that dude from before, and now he's being jumped. Just an average day in this anime at this point. Mai relentlessly shoots bullets at him, Kasumi attacks with precision swordplay. Todo gets frustrated with his friend's interference and uses a technique to swap everyone's positions in the area with the intention of saving Yuji. Todo confronts Noritoshi and tells him to leave, but Noritoshi agrees only on the condition that Todo eliminates Yuji and leaves with the other students, accepts the challenge, warning Noritoshi that he won't hold back, even against his best friend. Meanwhile, Momo observes the situation from above and provides information to her team. However, Megumi's new attacks Momo, knocking her out of the sky. Noritoshi notices this and asks Mai and Mechamaru to deal with Momo's situation. He then faces off against Megumi and Maki, with Megumi's tonfa clashing against Noritoshi's wooden bow. Noritoshi denies having a reason to get rid of Yuji, but Megumi suspects that the powerful sorcerer families might have ulterior motives for targeting Sukuna's vessel. As Todo and Yuji continue their intense battle, exchanging powerful punches on equal terms, Todo becomes impressed with Yuji's skills, toughness, and clever use of the environment to his advantage. However, he feels that Yuji's divergent fist technique is flawed. Frustrated, Todo loudly proclaims that Yuji's technique is wrong, and this statement reaches the ears of everyone else on the battlefield. Maki notices Todo's outburst and realizes that it's the reason Yuji is still alive. Kasumi apologizes for her class's actions and explains that she's participating in the event to catch the attention of higher-level sorcerers. In this world, higher-ranked sorcerers can recommend lower-ranked ones for promotions, leading to better opportunities and financial stability for her struggling family. Todo questions Yuji about his reliance on the divergent fist technique and asks if he's okay with being weak. At first, Yuji doesn't seem to care about being Todo's best friend, but he asserts that he refuses to stay weak. Todo is impressed by Yuji's determination and acknowledges that this is the correct attitude to have. With this newfound understanding between them, Todo and Yuji continue their fight with renewed determination. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, Megumi, Maki, and the Kyoto team are still trying to uncover the true motives behind the big three sorcerer family's actions and the real reason for targeting Yuji. As the battle intensifies, each side fights for their own goals and beliefs, and the tensions rise to a boiling point. As the battle between Todo and Yuji intensifies, Todo recognizes Yuji's progress and improvement but also sees that there's still room for growth. He decides to pause the fight and have a meaningful conversation with Yuji about his divergent fist technique. Todo acknowledges that it's a strong technique, but he points out that it won't be effective against a special grade opponent. He explains that the divergent fist relies on cursed energy left behind by Yuji's superhuman speed, and to make it truly effective, Yuji must learn to apply cursed energy at the exact moment of impact. This requires correct control and flow of cursed energy throughout his body. Todo imparts a valuable lesson to Yuji about how emotions and energy should not be compartmentalized in specific body parts, but instead should be embraced and utilized as a whole. Todo's teaching helps Yuji realize that everyone in the world exists with their entire mind, body, and soul. This holistic approach to using cursed energy is crucial for mastering the divergent fist technique and becoming a stronger sorcerer. With this newfound understanding, Yuji is determined to continue his growth and become even more formidable in his battles. As the battle between Todo and Yuji resumes, Yuji incorporates Todo's advice, and his attacks become more refined and powerful. Todo watches with a sense of pride and excitement, knowing that his best friend is on the path to unlocking even greater potential. The two fighters continue their intense clash, pushing their limits and striving for growth in the world of Jujutsu sorcery. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, Nobara and Panda playfully tease Momo while she's stuck in a tree. However, their lighthearted interaction takes a surprising turn when Ultimate Mechamaru attacks Panda from behind, offended by the term Tin can use to describe him. Momo joins the fray, offering to fight Nobara, while Panda and Mechamaru face off. In the midst of their battle, Mechamaru reveals that he is a cursed corpse, a puppet controlled by someone else, Kakichi Muta. Panda quickly shows his prowess in combat, overwhelming Mechamaru with unpredictable moves and attacks. However, Kakichi becomes increasingly angry, revealing his envy of Panda's carefree life under the sun due to a heavenly restriction that limits his physical abilities. He unleashes his most powerful technique, the ultimate cannon, believing he has the upper hand. But when the smoke clears, Panda surprises everyone with his unique form, Gorilla Mode, which proves to be a formidable force. During the intense duel, Panda shares the truth about his origins as a cursed corpse with 3 cores, 2 of which belong to his brother and sister. Yaga had assured him that whenever he needed help, his siblings' cores would lend him their strength. Panda's intelligence and cursed energy manipulation skills become evident as he outsmarts Mechamaru, leading to his victory. Despite their fierce battle, Panda offers to help Kakichi in the future, showing understanding and compassion even in the midst of conflict. This act of kindness stirs Kakichi's memories of his friends and his longing to be accepted among them. Meanwhile, Kasumi and Maki have a strong disagreement, and Kasumi realizes just how powerful Maki, the second year from Tokyo, truly is. Kasumi had previously believed that Maki was not very strong and had limited magical abilities, as her friend Mai had told her. However, the reality is starkly different, as Maki proves to be incredibly powerful and easily dominates the fight. Maki's skillful techniques leave Kasumi overwhelmed and struggling to keep up. Maki kicks Kasumi into a nearby stream, further demonstrating her superiority in the battle. In an attempt to turn the tide, Kasumi decides to use her simple domain technique against Maki. However, Maki quickly understands and counters the swordsmanship technique, breaking her own spear in the process. Maki's mastery of combat is evident, and she effortlessly dismantles Kasumi's offensive moves. As Maki approaches, Kasumi makes another move. But Maki sees through her strategy and distracts her with half of the broken spear and a kunai. The distraction causes Kasumi to deactivate her domain, leaving her vulnerable to Maki's swift actions. Seizing the opportunity, Kasumi manages to disarm Maki and take her sword. However, it becomes clear that Maki's strength lies not just in her weapons but in her overall skill as a sorcerer. The fight showcases Maki's prowess and showcases why Mei believes she should be promoted immediately. Meanwhile, Mei and Satoru watch the battles unfold from a distance. Satoru questions Mei about the shaky footage of Yuji's fight, and she explains that animals can be unpredictable, making it challenging to closely monitor Yuji's actions. When asked about her support in the fights, Mei admits she is only interested in making money. Nobara finds herself in a challenging battle against Momo, who flies through the air on her broom. Nobara struggles to catch Momo, who uses cursed energy-infused wind attacks against her. Despite the difficulties, Nobara remains unfazed and determined to persevere. Momo talks about the pressures faced by female sorcerers like Mai, who are under the scrutiny of influential sorcerer families. However, Nobara refuses to excuse Momo's behavior and urges her to reconsider the person they are condemning as a curse. Nobara's strong sense of self and determination to be true to herself and her beliefs shine through during the battle. The battle between Maki and Mai intensifies as they both reveal their hidden talents and past struggles. Maki proves to be overwhelmingly powerful, but Mai surprises her with a hidden trump card, an innate technique called construction. The technique allows Mai to create something from nothing using cursed energy, but it takes a toll on her body. Despite this powerful ability, the Zenin family never recognized Maki's worth, and instead focused on her limitations. The clash between the two sisters brings forth complex emotions, as Mai grapples with her feelings of betrayal and disappointment in Maki's choices. As the battles continue, the Goodwill event becomes a stage for self-discovery, growth, and challenging one's limits. Each sorcerer faces their own struggles and emotions, with the bonds between comrades tested and the true strength of each individual revealed. Megumi continues to maneuver through the temple, deftly avoiding Noritoshi's cursed energy-charged arrows. His unknown abyss toads prove invaluable in protecting him by catching the arrows with their tongues. Megumi discovers that Noritoshi's technique defies physics, making the arrows almost impossible to evade completely. Despite the danger, Megumi remains defiant, not wanting to summon another Shikigami as his divine dog is preoccupied elsewhere. Both fighters recognize each other's techniques linked to their prestigious sorcerer families. The 10 Shadows technique from the Zenin family for Megumi and the blood manipulation technique from the Kamo family for Noritoshi. Noritoshi's blood manipulation grants him incredible physical prowess, akin to doping, giving him a significant advantage in combat. Meanwhile, Kasumi finds herself in a comical situation, lamenting the loss of her sword and feeling helpless without Maki. Toji contacts her through Mechamaru's phone, guiding her with the help of Megumi's divine dog. But their conversation is cut short when Toji senses a powerful presence nearby.
猫だ。はい。役立たず三輪です。
In the observation room, Yudaheim prepares to rescue Kasumi while Principal Gakuganji recalls his plan to assign Noritoshi a cursed spirit to eliminate Yuji. Unexpectedly, the same cursed spirit appears before Toji, but it's quickly destroyed by the special grade cursed spirit, Hanami, who is joined by Mahito and the curse user, Juzo, in invading the school. Back to the intense battle, Noritoshi overwhelms Megumi with his blood-enhanced attacks, breaking Megumi's tonfas and showing familiarity despite the intense fight. Noritoshi sympathizes with Megumi, believing they both sacrificed for their families. He sees killing Yuji as a means to prove himself, but Megumi rejects this ideology and fights for his conscience to protect and save others. During their confrontation, a toad distracts Noritoshi, allowing Megumi to summon his newest Shikigami, Max Elephant. The battle intensifies, but both fighters are interrupted by a massive mass of branches, prompting Toji to warn them to flee. Simultaneously, unregistered cursed energy starts eliminating curses in the Spirit Bash race, signaling a significant event. The situation becomes dire, and the Jujutsu students find themselves trapped by Hanami's branches until Juzo intervenes with a cursed object curtain. The curtain isolates them from Satoru, Gakuganji, and Yudaheim. As the battle continues, Megumi recognizes Hanami from Gojo's drawings and attempts to contact Gojo through his phone. Hanami destroys the phone and confronts the students with incredible speed. Toad's cursed speech ability temporarily halts Hanami, allowing them to communicate. Hanami reveals his purpose to protect the planet and urges the sorcerers to die and become sages for the Earth. The situation becomes even more critical as the fate of the students and the school hangs in the balance. Megumi, Toji, and Noritoshi race through the winding corridors of the building, with Hanami's menacing roots hot on their heels. Toji, having honed a technique to keep Hanami at bay, struggled to maintain his resolve. Megumi checked on him, offering cough syrup to soothe his strained throat. Just as Hanami closed in, Toji commanded him to stop, and miraculously, it worked, halting the attack momentarily. Noritoshi used his power to control blood and dealt a devastating blow to Hanami's face branches. The three students resumed their desperate escape plan. Toji would stop Hanami, while Noritoshi and Megumi attacked before making another getaway. Their hope was to find help from other students or make it outside the building. Hanami relentlessly pursued them outside, but Megumi sent his Shikigami, Nu, to confront the monstrous curse. Megumi believed Toad's cursed speech could neutralize Hanami's strength, but alas, Toad's throat couldn't withstand the immense power. Without Toad's support, Noritoshi suffered severe injuries, and Megumi stepped in to save him from further harm. As Megumi was about to make his move, a senior appeared, ready to face Hanami alone. With the unexpected reinforcement, Toji mustered the last of his strength and forced Hanami back. Though Hanami withstood the attack, Maki arrived with Kasumi's katana, hoping it could pierce the curse. To their dismay, Hanami claimed the blade was futile against him and shattered it. However, Megumi seized the opportunity and wounded one of Hanami's face branches with his black-bladed curse tool. They discovered this vulnerability, but Hanami swiftly regenerated, acknowledging Megumi's potent sword. Maki asserted she had an even better weapon, and Megumi handed her a special grade curse tool called Playful Cloud, a 3-section staff from his shadow. Maki launched a powerful attack, sending Hanami flying away from the battlefield. Megumi summoned Divine Dog Totality, which inflicted severe damage on Hanami's arm. Maki struck from behind using Megumi's sword, surprising Hanami again. They switched weapons and successfully severed Hanami's eye branches, celebrating a fleeting triumph. Their joy was short-lived, as a curse bud sprouted from Megumi's stomach, rendering him unable to utilize Jujutsu. Maki was caught off guard and got her arm impaled by a wooden spear. Hanami mocked them, exploiting their vulnerability when their allies were hurt. Divine Dog vanished, and Hanami swiftly subdued Maki. Megumi felt the pressure to act, but Maki urged them to switch places. In the nick of time, Yuji and Todo swooped in to rescue Maki, descending from the sky. Momo Nishimiya arrived on her levitating broom to assist Toji and Noritoshi to safety, confident in Todo's strength to handle the situation. Though worried, Yuji assured Megumi it would be alright, and Panda escorted him and Maki away from the battlefield. "Oh boy, here we go again, I can just smell the more jumps incoming." Todo offered his help on one condition. He wanted to witness Yuji perform the Black Flash, an immensely powerful technique that distorted space with cursed energy in a trillionth of a second, delivering 2.5 times the power of a regular strike. Determined to aid his injured friends, Yuji faced Hanami, seeking the right moment to execute the Black Flash. However, he hesitated, mindful of Megumi and Junpei's injuries. Todo noticed this and smacked Yuji, advising him not to rely solely on anger. He guided Yuji to focus and stay composed, cementing their friendship. Finally, with intense concentration, Yuji drooling from the effort, he successfully unleashed the black flash on Hanami, overwhelming him with tremendous power. The technique proved successful, granting them a better chance against Hanami. Todo observed with pride, acknowledging Yuji's growth. Yuji marveled at his increased cursed energy, and Todo explained that he now understood cursed energy as an essential ingredient. Previously, Yuji had been using it without realizing its true potential, but now he wielded it like a skilled chef with knowledge of how to use the ingredients effectively. In Todo's metaphor, Yuji had become twice the chef he once was. Hanami, too, recognized Yuji's newfound strength and decided to heal his injured arm, preparing for the next round of battle. Todo and Yuji stood together as best friends, ready to face Hanami with renewed determination. Hanami unveiled his left arm, signifying he was getting serious as well. The stage was set for an intense clash between the formidable duo of Todo and Yuji and the resolute Hanami. Hanami summoned colossal roots with an astonishing attack range, catching Yuji off guard with their reach. However, these roots traded speed and power for extended range, presenting Yuji and Todo an opportunity to get close and execute a joint attack. They struck Hanami, but suddenly the roots vanished, leaving them unbalanced. However, they quickly regained their footing by leveraging each other's feet, skillfully evading Hanami's next assault through exceptional teamwork. Impressed by their skills, Hanami recalled a conversation with Mahito, who encouraged him to embrace his instincts as a curse and revel in the thrill of battle. The fight intensified as Yuji and Hanami exchanged blows at close quarters, with Todo lending support to Yuji. Hanami admitted that he indeed relished the excitement of the battle. With the intensity escalating, Todo decided it was time to unleash his powerful curse technique. The battle was far from over as both sides pushed themselves to their limits, and the ultimate outcome remained uncertain. In the past, during Todo's elementary school days, he got into a fight with a high schooler and easily defeated him, claiming that life was dull and uninteresting. However, his life took a turn when he encountered a woman surrounded by a curse. She asked Todo about his type of woman, and their meeting gave him a sense that his life was about to become more exciting. In the present, Todo and Yuji continue their battle against the powerful special-grade cursed spirit, Hanami. Todo asks Yuji to trust him as he carefully analyzes their opponent's techniques, leading him to believe they can win. However, as they charge towards Hanami, the roots catch Todo's foot, hurling him towards spikes that Hanami had created. Seeing Todo in danger, Yuji tries to go to his aid, but Hanami engages him in combat instead. Hanami boasts that one of them is down, but suddenly, Todo activates his innate technique, Boogie Woogie. This ability swaps the positions of Todo and Hanami, causing the spikes to pierce Hanami instead of Todo. Yuji is amazed to see Todo next to him after Todo's successful use of Boogie Woogie. Hanami acknowledges that Todo's technique may be simple, but it's troublesome for him to deal with. The two friends continue their assault on Hanami, with Todo repeatedly using Boogie Woogie to switch their positions and confuse their opponent. They unleash a barrage of punches that Hanami struggles to break free from. Surprisingly, instead of using his innate technique again, Todo lets Yuji land 4 consecutive black flash strikes on Hanami, weakening the special grade cursed spirit. Todo realizes they have a chance to exorcise Hanami now. The battle rages on, and Todo once again swaps places with Hanami to face off against Yuji. They both land powerful punches on each other. Yuji notices that Hanami is getting used to Todo's technique. In the midst of the fight, Todo uses Boogie Woogie to protect Yuji from being harmed by the cursed buds. Takata suddenly appears and talks to Todo about Megumi's injuries caused by the cursed bud. Todo reflects on this and deactivates his cursed energy barrier, surprising Hanami. The duo, Todo and Yuji, continue to push the special grade cursed spirit back to the location where their battle began, near the river. Todo remembers Megumi telling him about Maki's special grade cursed tool, Playful Cloud, which is lying in the riverbed. He also recalls that the trees on Hanami's face are his weak spots. Using his Boogie Woogie technique, Todo switches Yuji out for the special grade cursed tool, Playful Cloud. Hanami responds by absorbing the life force of nearby plants, converting it into cursed energy, and empowering the flower bud on his left shoulder. However, just as Hanami is about to activate his domain expansion, Yuji rushes over to Todo, who instructs him to stop moving. At that moment, the curtain above them disappears, and Satoru Gojo is revealed to be floating above the battlefield. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the battle, Gakugenji continues to face off against the curse user, Juzo Kumiya. Juzo realizes that Gakugenji is an effective mid-range attacker, preventing him from getting closer. At the same time, Yudahime is seen running while on the phone, but she is suddenly attacked from behind by another curse user named Haruta Shijimo. Just as Haruta asks what Yudahime will give him, Nobara and Mai arrive to assist her. Haruta seems excited, claiming he's popular because of how many girls are there. However, the curtain above them disappears as well, and Haruta panics and runs away, realizing that not even 30 minutes have passed since the start of the fight. In the battle between Todo, Yuji Itadori, and Hanami, Yuji is surprised to see Gojo Sensei floating above the battlefield, looking like the light-skin that took your girl.
Huh? Gojo sensei!
Gojo notices Yuji's growth and believes that Todo and Yuji working together will be okay for a while. He then heads off to confront Juzo, despite Gakuganji's plea not to eliminate him. Gojo easily takes down Juzo by severing his limbs and instructs Gakuganji to get Juzo healed for interrogation. Gojo realizes that the curse user facing off against Yudaheim has fled, and he assumes Hanami will do the same. Yuji wants to pursue Hanami, but Todo stops him, worried that his new best friend might get caught in the crossfire. In the meantime, Gojo decides to go all out and combines two powerful techniques, Curse Technique Lapse, Blue, and Curse Technique Reversal, Red. This fusion results in the creation of the Hollow Technique, Purple. The force of this technique leaves Todo unsure if the curse was exercised or not.
Yay! 一件落着!
ってわけにはいかないか。
Meanwhile, Mahito successfully steals Cursed Womb Death Painting 1-3, along with a Sukuna finger. He wonders about Hanami's well-being and leaves behind 2 murdered members of the school's staff on his way out, declaring that his mission is complete. The situation becomes even more complex and dangerous with Mahito's actions. In the depths of an underground cave, Haruta Shijima walked, his frustration mounting as he felt powerless during the invasion. Suddenly, a weary and exhausted Hanami crashed down from the ceiling, collapsing before him. In a fit of anger and desperation, Haruta considered ending Hanami's life, but his plans were thwarted when Mahito arrived on the scene. Mahito revealed that he had successfully completed the mission. In a flashback, Gito discussed a formidable sorcerer named Tenjin with Mahito, Hanami, and Jogo. They debated who was stronger between Tenjin and Satoru Gojo. Gito dismissed the need to concern themselves with Tenjin, emphasizing that they must avoid drawing Gojo's attention away from Mahito's main mission. Gito believed that one of the students posed a significant threat to Sukuna and that getting rid of the student would ruin their plans. Jogo suggested kidnapping Sukuna's vessel, but Gito warned against it, fearing the consequences for both their group and Jujutsu High. Back in the present, Mahito assisted Hanami, who struggled with suppressing their killing intent. Mahito was pleased to see Hanami's transformation into a more monstrous cursed spirit. At Tokyo High, Ijichi informed the group that Mahito was responsible for the casualties and stolen cursed objects. The discussion arose about whether to inform the students and other sorcerers, but Yaga believed it best to keep the information restricted to higher-ups. When asked about valuable information from the captured cursed user, Juzo mentioned being deceived by a white-haired monk during the raid. Neme inquired if the description matched anyone known to Gojo, but he denied any knowledge of it. Gojo speculated that the special grade cursed spirit the students fought might have helped the attackers bypass Tenjin's barrier, noting that the barrier did not affect plants and was primarily for hiding, not protection. In the aftermath of the events, the school principals discussed canceling the Goodwill event. However, Gojo insisted that the decision was not theirs to make. At the healing ward, Yuji and Nobara visited Megumi, who was recovering. Nobara asked Yuji about the incident with Todo, but Yuji claimed he wasn't himself at the time. Yuji expressed relief that Megumi wasn't seriously injured and mentioned his newfound ability to eat pizza. Megumi, although complaining about the food, acknowledged Yuji's growth and confidently declared his determination to surpass him. Todo appeared between Yuji and Nobara, complimenting Megumi's determination and showing respect for his brother's friend. Yuji ran away from Todo, who chased after him. Yuji struggled to explain their bond and how his mindset was compromised during their previous encounter. The next day, Gojo met with the students to discuss whether they should continue the Goodwill event after the recent events. Many students were hesitant, but Todo passionately advocated for continuing the event, presenting several compelling reasons that convinced the others. Gojo decided to modify the event, removing the individual portion and having Yuji randomly select a team event. To everyone's surprise, Yuji chose baseball, breaking away from tradition. The baseball game began, and tensions rose as the teams competed. Kasumi Miwa took the first turn at bat, while Yudaheim and Momo argued about the game's rules. Kamo stepped up to bat and had a meaningful conversation with Yuji, understanding his motivations for becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. Noritoshi was struck out by Maki, impressed by Yuji's sincerity. Nobara faced the pitching machine controlled by Mechamaru and managed to hit the ball while confronting Mai at first base. Megumi sacrificed himself on a bunt to advance Nobara, and the team appeared to score 3 runs. However, a dispute arose when Momo used her broom to catch Maki's ball, leading the Tokyo students to accuse her of cheating. As the game progressed, Toto stepped up to bat and expressed his desire to face Yuji as the pitcher rather than the catcher.
約束してくれブラザー。
ナイスピッチナイピー
ナイピー。
マキさんナイピー
Maki struck him in the face with the ball, earning admiration from many, but revealing the disdain some had for Toto. Meanwhile, the two principals discussed Yuji, with Gakuganji admitting that he didn't hate him, but the rules demanded his presence be condemned due to Sukuna's potential danger. Yaga believed that Yuji had the potential to save many lives as a sorcerer, despite the regrets that all sorcerers inevitably faced. As the baseball game neared its conclusion, Yuji's home run helped Toji score 2 points, leading to Tokyo High's victory in the 30th annual Kyoto Goodwill event.
どうにかしろ。
As Teichai returned home, he immediately noticed that the auto-lock doors to his apartment were open. Angrily, he complained to the building manager about the security issue but failed to notice the cursed spirit lurking behind him. Tragically, he was stabbed to death and his profile was added to Tokyo Jujutsu High, a school that deals with curses and paranormal phenomena. Later, Akari Nida, the auxiliary manager for Jujutsu High, drove 3 first-year students, Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji, to their mission site. Akari explained that there was a common thread connecting the deaths of Teichai and the 3 students from the same junior high they had attended. The most likely explanation was that the 3 of them were cursed, and it took years for the curse to fully manifest. During their investigation, they discovered that all the victims had attended Saitama Urami East Junior High, where they planned to question some classmates who knew them. However, they were shocked to find another funeral happening, and the person they were supposed to question had died in the same manner as the others. The mystery surrounding the curse deepened. Upon arriving at the school to investigate further, they encountered some punks, and Megumi's former classmates recognized him. It was revealed that Megumi had beaten up all the punks in the area during his time at the school. This led to some tension among the first-year students as they realized that Megumi had kept this part of his past a secret from them. Despite the lack of leads, they decided to head to Yasuhachi Bridge, a location known for suicides and paranormal activity, to continue their investigation. They learned about a story involving 4 students who had disappeared and were later found unconscious below the bridge. This led them to suspect that the curse they were dealing with might be connected to this incident. Back at Jujutsu High, Mahito and Gito discussed the cursed objects they had obtained, the death painting wombs. These objects posed a significant threat and could manifest in anyone, making them unpredictable and dangerous. As the first years continued their investigation at Yasuhachi Bridge, they failed to find any traces of the curse they were looking for. However, Mahito had forced one of the death painting wombs into a normal human, turning him into a cursed spirit, adding to the danger. The situation became more personal for Megumi when he encountered the Fujinuma siblings, who had experienced strange occurrences related to the cursed spirit.
ピコーンって言った今言った
They informed him that his sister Tsumaki had been with them during one of the incidents, leaving Megumi deeply worried for her safety. Despite the danger, Megumi refused to back down and tried to handle the situation alone to protect his friends. However, Yuji and Nobara insisted on supporting him, emphasizing their trust and friendship. Megumi finally opened up about his sister's condition, and they decided to face the cursed spirit together. They entered the cursed spirit's domain, where they confronted a mole-like cursed spirit inside. To their surprise, another cursed spirit from the death painting wombs also appeared. Yuji faced the new threat while Megumi and Nobara focused on dealing with the curse in the domain, ready to confront the danger that lay ahead. In the midst of the intense battles, Yuji finds himself facing off against Kichizu, the mole-like cursed spirit. With his agility and quick reflexes, Yuji skillfully dodges Kichizu's blood shots and manages to land a powerful kick, sending the spirit flying. However, the corrosive blood continues to pose a threat, forcing Yuji to flip Kichizu over to avoid the deadly liquid. Undeterred, Yuji lands multiple punches on Kichizu until the spirit grabs his arm. Yuji counters by seizing Kichizu's other arm and performing an improvised dropkick, sending Kichizu flying once more.
I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right, I'm left, I'm right, I'm right.
Realizing the corrosive nature of the blood, Yuji becomes cautious of the surroundings. Meanwhile, in a different area of the domain, Nobara and Megumi engage in a fierce battle with the agile mole-like cursed spirit. Nobara attempts to use resonance to control the spirit, while Megumi wields his black sword to strike it down. However, the spirit proves elusive, retreating into its hole to avoid their attacks. Despite the challenges, Nobara suggests they continue their assault, comparing the situation to a game of whack-a-mole. Megumi observes that the curse's expanded curse technique coupled with the large number of victims it has claimed and the barrier it's utilizing, are taking a toll on its main body, making it vulnerable to their efforts. Unexpectedly, a third party intervenes, snatching Nobara out of the barrier. Megumi is taken aback but is urged by Nobara to keep fighting the cursed spirit, as she faces the unknown entity who took her out of the barrier. Megumi presses on, unaware of the identity of the intruder. Outside the barrier, Kechizu senses the presence of his older brother and promptly flees from his confrontation with Yuji. Concerned about Nobara, Yuji asks Megumi if he should chase after Kechizu, and Megumi advises him to do so as Nobara might be facing a more troublesome situation. Before Yuji leaves, he tells Megumi to join the fight if things become dire. Nobara, on the other side of the barrier, confronts the mysterious man who pulled her out. Annoyed by his actions, Nobara swings her hammer to keep him at bay. The man is surprised that he caught a female sorcerer, indicating that she was not his intended target. It's revealed that Iso and Kechizu are present, claiming they are on errands and won't harm the sorcerers if they retreat. However, Nobara is puzzled by Iso's unusual anatomy and strange odor, unsure if he's a curse user or a cursed spirit. Iso expresses his surprise, mentioning that he thought the sorcerers were also after Sukuna's finger, just like him. Inside the domain, Megumi continues his intense battle with the mole-like curse. Despite the curse's simple attack pattern, Megumi manages to defeat it with his divine dog, totality technique, dealing the final blow. However, the barrier doesn't disappear, indicating that the curse is not the only threat. Something emerges from the exit, shocking Megumi. He realizes that since June, cursed victims have been dying, coinciding with the time when Yuji became Sukuna's host. Megumi connects the dots and understands that Sukuna's release of cursed energy resonated with all his fingers, awakening the bridge curse, which concealed one of Sukuna's fingers inside the barrier. Another special grade finger bearer, identical to the one he encountered at the detention center, stands before Megumi. Sukuna's power has amplified all his fingers, making them formidable foes. The finger bearer launches a devastating blast of cursed energy, easily breaking Megumi's sword. Megumi tries to summon new, but the finger bearer's incredible speed surprises him once again. In a desperate move, Megumi activates his domain expansion, Chimera Shadow Garden, creating a shadow-filled arena. With his creativity, he uses frogs and liquid shadow to distract the curse, landing a powerful kick to its face. The curse retaliates with a powerful arrow of cursed energy, but Megumi uses a shadow fake to evade it. Megumi then summons two news to attack the curse. The curse responds with a large explosive barrier of cursed energy, attempting to eliminate the liquid shadow. After defeating the curse, Megumi and his Shikigami, divine dog, Totality, emerged from behind the curse's shadow. Megumi points out the power of divine dog's claws, indicating how they could even pierce through Hanami's hard shell, making the curse's defeat inevitable. The curse vanishes, and the domain dissipates, but the intense battle leaves Megumi severely exhausted. He ends up vomiting and falling forward, the strain of the fight taking a toll on him. In a flashback, it's revealed that Megumi used to be a bully, and someone named Tsumiki scolded him for his behavior, encouraging him to stop fighting. Tsumiki throws a carton of strawberry milk at him, a memory that unexpectedly resurfaces in the midst of the battle. Megumi remembers how Gojo Sensei intervened in his life when his father married Tsumiki's mother and then disappeared, ensuring that Megumi and his sister were supported by the school and preventing Megumi from being sent to the Zenin family. Megumi now holds one of Sukuna's fingers and contemplates how to inform Yuji about it before falling asleep suddenly. Outside the barrier, Iso notices Sukuna's finger and becomes eager to obtain it. Kechizu and Yuji appear behind him, causing Iso to become angry that they caught him off guard. Nobara hits Iso on the back of his head with her hammer, provoking him further. Iso activates his raw technique, Maximum, Wing King, threatening to harm the students with wasps. I can just smell the gang jumping incoming. Yuji and Nobara proceed their fight against Kechizu and Iso. Finally, a 2v2 not a 1v6, good job for once anime. Yuji cautions Nobara to dodge the blood from Iso's procedure. As Iso's assault barely misses Nobara, he tells the other understudies to run absent with their backs turned. Be that as it may, the lines of the assault rapidly capture up to Yuji and Nobara. Yuji inquires in the event that Nobara can run quicker, but she says she can't. So, Yuji chooses to carry her and increment their speed. Nobara guarantees Yuji that she's got his back as he dashes through the adjacent timberland at unimaginable speed, zigzagging between trees to elude the attack's run. In spite of carrying Nobara, Yuji's speed shocks Iso, who realizes how quick Yuji is. In an astonished assault, Kachizu oversees to capture Yuji off watch and spits his dim blood all over him. Yuji acts rapidly and pushes Nobara out of harm's way, but the cleared out side of his confront gets secured within the blood. Nobara tries to assist Yuji, but she is abruptly struck by Iso's Wing Lord assault as he catches up to them quickly. Iso clarifies to the first years that their blood is ingested through wounds and films, making the circumstance indeed more critical. He notices that Kachizu's blood isn't as dangerous as his claim, but still unsafe. He includes that Yuji may have almost 15 more minutes to live, whereas Nobara as it were has around 10 more minutes until morning, after which as it were their bones will stay. The circumstance gets to be progressively basic for both of them. In an aggravating flashback, it is uncovered how the passing portrait wombs came into presence. A lady with the special capacity to donate birth to human spirit crossbreeds looked for asylum in a sanctuary controlled by Noritoshi Kamo. In any case, rather than advertising her offer assistance or security, Kamo subjected her to brutal tests. He constrained her to experience 9 pregnancies and 9 premature births, driving to the creation of the 9 passing works of art. For the another 150 a long time, the passing portrait wombs had no one to depend on but each other. They persevered to awful and forlorn presence. Choso, one of the passing portrait wombs, clarifies to Iso and Kachizu that they ought to adjust themselves with the reviled spirits since the world they wish to make would be more reasonable for them, given their history and circumstances. Nobara's sudden chuckling catches Iso and Kachizu off watch as she employments her straw doll procedure, reverberation on herself, causing hurt to both of them. She challenges them to play amusement of chicken, insulting them to persevere the torment. Nobara indeed energizes the reviled spirits to discharge their method in the event that the torment gets to be as well much for them. Iso considers whether he ought to discharge his procedure, realizing that Nobara's capacity turns the revile against its client. He moreover notes that no matter how numerous times Nobara employments reverberation on them, they won't kick the bucket, but since his rot method is still dynamic, they won't be able to move either. In any case, Yuji remains unaffected due to being Sukuna's vessel, the Lord of Curses, and having resistance to harm. This shocks Iso, clearing out him incapable to do anything as Yuji unleashes a torrent of reviled energy-infused punches on Kachizu, overwhelming him within the prepare. Within the strongly fight, as Yuji and Nobara exchange places, Iso catches a see of his horrifyingly harmed more youthful brother, Kachizu, who was seriously harmed by Yuji's capable punches. Yuji proceeds his assault on Iso, but Iso oversees to square the blows and counter, sending Yuji flying. Within the process, Iso impulses deactivates his procedure to secure his brother. Iso enacts Wing Ruler once more, attempting to constrain Yuji back. Be that as it may, Nobara, centered and unaffected by the deactivated technique's torment, remains aim on assaulting Kachizu. Sometime recently Wing Ruler can reach her, Yuji quickly lands before Iso, and they both channel their vitality to a millionth of a moment, enacting Dark Streak. This engaged assault sends a nail clean through Kachizu's head, murdering him immediately. Within the prepare, Iso's right arm is blown off totally. Troubled, Iso argues for his more youthful brother's survival. In the meantime, as Nobara turns around, Kachizu endeavors to require her life by attempting to eat up her from behind. But Nobara, in a minute of anger, actuates straw doll strategy, clip, exploding the nail in Kachizu's head, finishing his life. Nobara guarantees the dead Kachizu that Iso will be joining him within the great beyond. As Yuji moves to wrap up off Iso, the youthful alchemist is taken aback by Iso's tears of warmth for his misplaced brother. This unforeseen show of feeling makes Yuji stop. Nobara too stops assaulting, astounded that Kachizu's body isn't vanishing, recommending that he might still be lively. Both Yuji and Nobara come to realize that the passing works of art aren't only reviled spirits but tissue and blood creatures with feelings. As the pickup truck speeds absent, Iso takes one of the men on board prisoner and powers the driver to quicken, making it troublesome for Yuji to seek after them. Iso accepts he will recuperate and come back for Vindicate on Nobara, but he gets to be frightened when he sees her around to utilize her straw doll method on his disjoined arm. Sometime recently Iso can respond, Nobara actuates reverberation once more, causing even more harm to Iso's chest. 2 dark nails puncture outward from his chest, causing him to break down and drop from the truck. Yuji surges toward him, apologizing, and after that conveys a last, destroying punch through Iso's chest, finishing his life. After the fight and with the passing Candaces vanquished, Yuji takes note his hand burning from Iso's blood. He comments that it harms, but he suspects there's more to it than fair the torment from the blood. The circumstance takes off Yuji mulling over the occasions of the fight and the waiting impacts of the revile. and the curses themselves. As Choso faculties the passing of his brothers, he breaks one of the board diversion pieces, disillusioning Mahito. Gito is shocked by Choso's capacity to sense their passings, and Mahito goes to discover another amusement piece. When Gito affirms that both Iso and Kachizu were slaughtered by Yuji and his classmates, Mahito grins upon hearing this news. Meanwhile, at Yasuhachi Bridge, Akari tries to contact the first years, but none of them reply her phone calls, which pesters her. She chooses to go seek for them herself. Within the consequence of the fight, Yuji and Nobara walk through the timberland in conversation around the passing portrait wounds. Yuji checks to form beyond any doubt Nobara is okay, and she guarantees him that she's fine in spite of her scarred left arm and the plausibility of harm in her body. She ponders on the off chance that Shoko will be wakeful and calm sufficient to recuperate her wounds. Amid their discussion, Nobara takes note that Yuji is acting a bit bizarre. He inquires her in the event that this can be the primary time she has murdered somebody rather than fair exercising them. Whereas Yuji has done so some time recently with the transfigured people, Nobara doesn't appear to have a problem with it, showing her solid resolve in their line of work as Jujutsu magicians. Underneath the bridge, Yuji and Nobara discover Megumi oblivious, which stresses them. In any case, Megumi all of a sudden wakes up and communicates his alleviation that they are a firm. Yuji and Nobara chasten Megumi for terrifying them like that. Megumi lies down with a finger that has to be fixed as before long as conceivable. Nobara plans on calling Akari, and Yuji offers to eat the finger to urge freed of it. But Megumi is against it since they are uncertain how numerous fingers Yuji can handle. Instead, Megumi chooses to provide the finger to Yuji to hold onto as he has the foremost vitality. In any case, to their astonish, Sukuna makes a mouth on Yuji's palm, much to the stun and inconvenience of Megumi and Nobara. Before long after, Akari arrives on the bridge, shouting at the three, but they disregard her, including to her disturbance. 2 days afterward, Gojo talks on the phone with Yudaheim to check on the status of the mole inside the Jujutsu Tall School. He gloats approximately the victory of his understudies. Yudaheim reports that she hasn't found any leads exterior the understudies and will proceed her examination. Gojo at that point turns his consideration to Mei for another matter and sends her 10 million yen, to which she cheerfully snickers out uproarious upon accepting the money. As Megumi and Nobara examine the circumstance, Megumi uncovers that Sukuna's incarnation activated the Yasuhachi Bridge Revile. He inquires Nobara not to tell Yuji almost it. In the meantime, Sukuna insults Yuji for causing the passings that happened amid the fight. In reaction, Yuji immovably tells Sukuna never to uncover this data to Megumi. Back at Tokyo Jujutsu Tall, Maki and Panda are preparing whereas Toji observes them. Panda sits down and inquires the two in the event that they are mindful of what happened with the first years, which Maki affirms. All of a sudden, Maki stands up and dispatches herself at the clueless Panda, shocking him with her assault. Todo and Mei rejoin with the Kyoto Tall foremost, Gakuganji, who clarifies the centrality of being a Review 1 magician. He notices that uncommon grades are irregularities among Jujutsu magicians, and Review 1 magicians are the ones who uphold the benchmarks of the most grounded alchemists. The missions they embrace and the perils they confront are at the next level, and the emolument reflects that, outperforming any rank underneath, counting semi-grade 1. With this in intellect, Gakuganji inquires Todo and Mei for their demands. They both put in a proposal for Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, Maki, and Panda to be advanced to Review 1 magicians. In the interim, Yuji is out shopping with Nobara and Megumi when he incidentally drops something, much to Nobara's irritation. She shouts at him, and he rapidly apologizes, whereas Megumi turns around in humiliation. All of a sudden, Megumi gets a communication from Gojo Sensei, educating them that they are to meet up with him for a top-secret mission. Going back to the past, we have Suguru Gito just strolling down the street pondering the joys of summer and the not-so-joyful cursed spirits popping up. He had a sudden craving for cursed spirit's favorite delicacy. After a quick detour into a sketchy alley, he found a cursed spirit indulging in a gruesome feast. Suguru decided to exorcise the spirit. Rumor has it, cursed spirits taste like a combo of a dirty rag used for cleaning up vomit, and, well, you can guess the other part. Meanwhile, Mei and the gang are off to a haunted hotel where bankruptcy and missing kids are on the menu. Mei, with her impeccable sense of cursed spirits, decides to venture into the spooky mansion. Little did she know, the haunted hotel's decor wasn't the only thing sending shivers down her spine. As Mei Mei and her partner explore, they stumble upon more trash than a cursed spirit's secret hideout. Mei Mei, showing her electric personality, decides to light up the place, only to reveal a floor resembling a landfill. She then delegates the exploration duties, leaving her companion to solo search the second floor. The second sorcerer hears a noise under a bed, leading to an Olympic-level sprint out of the room. Mei Mei, always one to enjoy a good jump scare, surprises her terrified companion. She screams in a brief debate about which floor they're actually on. However, they're both wrong. Realizing they've stumbled into a cursed spirit's maze, Mei Mei suggests they've become unwitting players in the world's worst escape room. Turns out, the cursed spirit set up a barrier for easy prey, thinking, why hunt when you can create a haunted hotel trap? Mei Mei, realizing they've been trapped in this cursed spirit's twisted escape room for what feels like an eternity, decides it's time to consult the brains of the operation, Yudaheim. Mei Mei bombards Yudaheim with questions about barrier-breaking techniques. Yudaheim, the knowledgeable sensei, starts explaining the intricacies of the barrier, but she forgets one crucial detail: running in opposite directions. So, our dynamic duo, armed with questionable logic, sprints down the hallway. The barrier, clearly not designed for athletic sorcerers, begins to crumble. Victory is sweet, but not as sweet as the look on their faces when they break free and find Gojo casually perched on a pile of rubble. Enter Gito, the anti-exorcism advocate, who wants to absorb the cursed spirit rather than letting Gojo go on an exorcism spree. The banter between Gojo and Gito is interrupted by the arrival of Shoko Iiri. Yudaheim, forgetting the dire situation for a moment, runs towards Shoko and hugs her like she just found her long-lost sorcerer BFF. As it turns out, Mei Mei, Yudaheim, and company have been Mia for 2 days due to the time-messing barrier. Mei Mei is already planning to overcharge for the extended mission. The news of the explosion inside the barrier is making headlines on the internet, and Yaga Masamichi, the stern first-grade sorcerer, is ready to give them a lecture on protocol. Gito believes in protecting non-jujutsu sorcerers, while Gojo couldn't care less about moral arguments, considering them the refuge of the weak. Gojo, in his usual playful manner, teases Gito until the latter can't take it anymore. Before things get too heated, Yaga-sensei appears, and suddenly, Gojo and Gito are best pals again. Yaga-sensei, with a mix of concern and skepticism, assigns a new mission to the dynamic duo: escort and erase the star plasma vessel, a girl compatible with Tenjin. But Tenjin, the one with the cursed technique of immortality, isn't aiming for eternal youth, he's going for a complete body makeover. The catch? Those who reach the higher state of being lose their will, essentially erasing their identity. Gojo and Gito, always up for a challenge, embark on their mission with the fate of Tenjin hanging in the balance. In the mystical world of Jujutsu, where schools and high schools aren't just about homework and exams but also dealing with cursed spirits and the occasional supernatural calamity, Tenjin-sama is the unsung hero. You see, he's the powerhouse behind the scenes, strengthening barriers, supporting Jujutsu societies, and basically keeping the magical show on the road. Without him, Jujutsu society would be in shambles. But here's the catch: Tenjin-sama, for all his mighty powers, needs a body upgrade every 500 years. Enter the Star Plasma Vessel, a lucky someone compatible with Tenjin. The vessel's location has been leaked, and there are two not-so-friendly groups in pursuit. First up is the Q group, the rebellious curse users who fancy turning Tenjin into a wrecking ball for Jujutsu society. Then, we have the Star Religious group, a bunch of non-sorcerer cultists, who've decided that Tenjin is their divine ticket to the big leagues. Our dynamic duo, Gojo and Gito, are tasked with protecting the Star Plasma Vessel, ensuring she safely reaches Tenjin. Gito rushes to pick up the vessel from her hotel room. But oh, plot twist, a grand explosion. Gito, with his quick thinking and a dash of curse technique, survives the blast. Meanwhile, in another corner of the chaos, the Q combatant Kokun decides it's time to make the vessel's life a little more interesting. Enter Gito's heroic save and Gojo, the unimpressed sensei who calmly stops Bayer's attack, thinking, is that all you got? Now, the Star Religious group might lack sorcery jumping skills, people but boy, do they know how to cut a check. They've hired the infamous Toji and let me know for the vessel's assassination. I'm out. After a victorious battle against Kokun, Gito casually prepares a cup of coffee, channeling his inner Baris the Sorcerer vibes. Kokun, on the other hand, is stuck in the throes of Gito's curse, desperately pleading for mercy. The smartphone buzzes, and a selfie from Gojo appears. Meanwhile, in a completely unrelated turn of events, Toji finds himself at a stadium, bidding on boat racing like it's his part-time job. The mediator from the religious group interrupts his gambling spree, inquiring about the progress report. Toji is up against a kid from the Gojo clan. However, he's not planning to face Gojo head-on. He's more of a strategic, wear down the enemy with idiots kind of guy. Toji's luck takes a hit as he loses yet another bet, earning himself a fair share of irritation. The mediator, counting on Toji for the mission, inquires about Megumi. Toji, after a brief mental pause, responds with the classic, "Who's Megumi?" Back at the vessel watching party, Gito and Gojo eagerly await the awakening of Amanai Riko. When Riko finally opens her eyes, she doesn't exactly greet them with a warm smile. Instead, she delivers a resounding slap to Gojo's face. Gito, attempting to be a peacemaker, tries to calm her down but gets labeled as a liar and a thug. The duo, in an attempt to establish dominance, starts squeezing Riko. Enter Kuroi, the room service lady, who somehow manages to convince Riko that both Gito and Gojo are on the same team. Riding on one of Gito's curses, Kuroi adds a layer of mystique to the scene. Just when things seem to be settling, Riko, the vessel with a mind of her own, stands up on her curse technique soapbox, claiming to be Tenjin herself. Despite her impassioned declaration, Gito and Gojo remain unfazed. Suddenly, a revelation about Riko's school triggers a change in her demeanor. Before anyone can react, she's off, leaving behind a room full of bewildered sorcerers. The plot thickens as Gojo receives a call from Yaga Sensei, instructing him to fulfill every demand of Amanai Riko. Irritation levels rise, but Gito convinces Gojo that Riko deserves some pre-enjoyment. In the tangled web of curses and alliances, Riko's tragic past unravels. She won't be able to see her friends or family, but Korai steps into the spotlight, revealing that Riko lost her family in a childhood accident, and he's been her guardian ever since. As Gito, Gojo, and Korai rush to find Riko in her school, ominous signs appear. Gito senses trouble from the cursed spirits he dispatched to watch over Riko, and urgently calls for Gojo. Alas, the spirits have met their untimely demise. Toji, the nonchalant sorcerer with a knack for boat racing and an appetite for strategy, enjoys his meal while keeping an eye on the race. The religious group places a bounty on Riko, and Toji knows the stakes are high. However, he remains calm, confident that no one can harm Riko as long as Gojo is by her side. After all, Gojo is the sorcerer born once in centuries with 6 eyes and the limitless technique. Meanwhile, Gito encounters an old sorcerer eager for a fight. The old man underestimates Gito's close combat abilities, assuming it's his weakness. However, Gito surprises him with a swift and powerful counterattack, leaving the old man contemplating his life choices. As Gojo enters Riko's school, he's met with admiration from her friends. The teacher even slides him her phone number. Seizing the opportunity, Gojo whisks Riko away from the classroom, heading towards Jujutsu High. In the chaotic pursuit, Korai takes down another assassin targeting Riko. The revelation of a 30 million bounty on Riko's head sends shockwaves through the sorcerer community. Gojo engages in a fierce battle against a Shikigami, the same kind that Korai faced earlier. The assassin uses clones to attack Gojo, but the 6-eyed sorcerer remains unfazed. With an explanation of his curse technique, Gojo identifies and defeats the main body of the clone. Riko receives a mysterious MMS, revealing Kuroi as a hostage. Kuroi herself urges Gito to team up with Gojo to save Riko. Gito, acknowledging his mistake, discusses the probable moves the kidnappers might make in the upcoming negotiations. Gojo recognizes that the kidnappers will likely offer an exchange or order him to harm Riko, using Kuroi's life as leverage. With Riko in their possession, Gojo and Gito plan to turn the tables during the exchange. However, Riko, still grappling with trust issues, refuses to be part of the strategic play. Despite her reluctance, Gojo and Gito successfully rescue Kuroi without compromising their position. Amidst the turmoil, Riko and Gojo find a moment of peace on the beach, enjoying their time together. While Gito works on comforting a guilt-ridden Kuroi, Riko and Gojo engage in seaside playfulness, splashing water and creating memories. Gojo, in his peculiar way, suggests sightseeing to show consideration for Riko, revealing a softer side beneath his sorcerer exterior. Back in Okinawa, Gito grapples with the mystery of why the kidnappers chose this location for the exchange. Seeking assistance, he calls for backup. Jujutsu High's Nanami Kento and Hibara arrive at Okinawa Airport, ready to lend their expertise. The clock is ticking, and the deadline looms if Riko doesn't reach Jujutsu High in time. While Gito and Kuroi strategize on ensuring Riko's safe return, Riko and Gojo revel in their seaside escapade. The news that playtime is over momentarily upsets Riko, but Gojo's decision to head back the next morning, coupled with the knowledge that there are fewer curse users in Okinawa, brings a sense of relief and happiness. As the group returns to Jujutsu High, the time limit on the bounty on Riko's head ticks away while they're in mid-flight. Gito, aware of Gojo's relentless use of techniques without rest, expresses concern. Seemingly less worried with Gito by his side, reminisces about their kayaking adventures, visits to flower fields, and Riko's evening at the aquarium. Upon their arrival inside Jujutsu High's barrier, situated in the foothills of Mount Mashiro, Gito praises for his hard work. However, the tranquility shatters when Toji, the enigmatic sorcerer, suddenly pierces Gojo's chest. Gito is bewildered by Toji's ability to breach the Jujutsu High barrier. Toji, revealing his previous encounter with Gojo and his plan to wear him down, strikes again. However, Toji misses vital points when Gito intervenes. Despite the attack, Gojo urges Gito to ensure the safety of Korai, and Riko, confident in his own abilities, in a shocking revelation, informs Toji that the bounty on Riko's head has been lifted, unaware that Toji was the one who initiated it. The confrontation intensifies as Toji, devoid of cursed energy but armed with unparalleled physical prowess, proves a formidable adversary. Gojo grapples with Toji's relentless attacks, utilizing his infinity technique to defend against the relentless strikes. Toji employs a swarm of fly-head curses to create a blind spot, exploiting the distraction to land a lethal blow on Gojo. Amidst this chaotic battle, Gito, Riko, and Korai arrive at the grounds of Jujutsu High. Korai departs from Riko, and they set foot in Tenjin's territory. Gito explains the gravity of the decision before Riko to choose assimilation or return home. The main hall of the Tomb of the Star awaits her, a special barrier accessible only to invited individuals. Just as Riko contemplates her decision, tragedy strikes. Toji, the relentless assassin, shoots Riko dead, shattering the moment of contemplation. In a surge of grief and rage, Gito unleashes all his cursed spirits on Toji, who chillingly declares the death of Gojo. The confrontation between Gito and Toji escalates as the true extent of Toji's abilities comes to light. Despite Gito's attempts to attack with cursed spirits, Toji effortlessly annihilates them. Toji reveals his unique method of countering sorcerers who rely on cursed energy, his own lack of it, combined with a cursed tool that prevents him from being invisible to cursed spirits. Toji keeps a cursed spirit capable of storing objects within his body, allowing him to conceal cursed tools and avoid detection by other sorcerers. Gito, realizing the threat Toji poses, refrains from using cursed tools initially. The two clash, and Gito's anger rises upon suspecting that Toji may have killed Kuroi as well. In a desperate move, Gito employs a cursed spirit using domain expansion to distract Toji and create an opportunity to absorb Toji's cursed spirit. However, Toji's incredible speed foils this attempt, and he inflicts multiple cuts on Gito. Although the cuts are not fatal, the situation becomes dire. Gito resorts to presenting the lifeless body of Riko Ammonai, the Star Plasma Vessel, as a means of negotiation. Toji, affiliated with the Star Religious Group, receives a bonus from the founder of the group upon confirming Riko's demise. The Star Religious Group, founded during the Nara era, follows a different moral code than traditional Jujutsu sorcerers. They remain non-users of Jujutsu but are deeply devoted to their unique set of beliefs. As the founder of the Star Religious Group stands, they begin wrapping Riko's corpse, signaling the commencement of a taboo recorded in their scriptures, the time for their object of worship to assimilate with the perceived impurity. Toji's unexpected intervention becomes their saving grace, as his calculated plan to kidnap Kuroi and wear down Gojo unfolds. As the mediator and Toji exit the Star Religious Group's building, Toji finds himself walking alone. Suddenly, he encounters Gojo standing right in front of him. Toji, unable to believe that Gojo is alive and well, prepares to attack. However, Gojo reveals that he utilized the negative curse technique against the negative, creating a positive energy that regenerated him. The two engage in a swift and intense exchange. However, Toji is only thinking, this man's is officially tweaking. Toji charges at Gojo, confident in his ability to handle Gojo's three techniques: stop, attract, and repel. However, Gojo effortlessly dodges Toji's attacks, reflecting on his newfound appreciation for the beauty of the world. Gojo's realization dawns. Toji is from the Zenin clan, explaining Toji's familiarity with Gojo's techniques. In a surprising turn, Gojo unveils a new technique by merging the amplified and reversal techniques, creating an imaginary purple technique. This technique punches a hole through Toji, demolishing half of his body. In his dying moments, Toji cryptically informs Gojo that his child will be sold to the Zenin clan in the coming years, leaving Gojo with a grim revelation. Toji dies standing on his legs, his cursed spirit crawling towards Gito. Gojo, now arriving with Riko's lifeless body, stands before Geto. However, Geto struggles to believe that the person before him is truly Gojo. Despite Gojo's desire to exact vengeance on the Star religious group, Geto opposes this dark inclination. The year after the intense confrontation between Gojo, Geto, and Toji, Gojo, now recognized as the strongest sorcerer of his age, is engaged in refining his Jujutsu technique. He demonstrates an automatic selection of targets for his technique, aiming to discern the danger level of objects based on various factors like cursed energy strength, mass, velocity, and shape. Gojo's goal is to extend the duration of his limitless technique with minimal resources. Despite his unparalleled strength, Gojo faces two remaining challenges: mastering domain expansion and teleportation over long distances. He contemplates that these hurdles could be overcome if they could secure courses in Jujutsu High without any obstructions. Gojo is now capable of handling missions alone, relegating Geto to other solo assignments, while Shoko has yet to face difficult missions. Geto, on the other hand, still grapples with the reason for being a sorcerer. After a shower, he encounters Hebara and, in a moment of introspection, asks Hebara if he finds it challenging to continue as a Jujutsu sorcerer. However, Hebara's response doesn't provide the clarity Geto seeks. The two engage in a discussion, and Hebara eventually departs. In a surprising turn of events, a blonde girl appears and questions Geto about his taste in girls.
どんな女がタイプかな?
どちら様ですか?
Geto, intrigued, inquires about her identity, and she introduces herself as special grade sorcerer Yuki Tsukumo. Geto recalls her as someone who never accepts missions, wandering abroad.
特級のくせに任務を全く受けず、海外をプラプラしてるろくでなしの。
Yuki, sharing her perspective, reveals her disagreement with Jujutsu High's policies.
私、高専って嫌い。
Instead of merely exorcising cursed spirits, Yuki aspires to create a world where cursed spirits are not born, a quest to address the root cause rather than treating the symptoms. Yuki Tsukumo, a special grade sorcerer, discussing her research with Geto. Yuki is exploring two potential solutions to the cursed energy dilemma: removing cursed energy from mankind or enabling all humanity to control their cursed energy. She refers to Toji Zenin, who, after a heavenly pact, had zero cursed energy but developed a resistance to curses, perceiving them with his five senses. Yuki, aiming to study Toji, emphasizes the rarity of individuals with heavenly pacts. Yuki leans toward the second option, making it possible for all humanity to control cursed energy. She shares her findings with Geto, explaining that Jujutsu sorcerers leak minimal cursed energy compared to non-sorcerers. Yuki suggests forcing non-sorcerers to adapt and evolve into sorcerers, potentially eradicating the birth of curses. Surprisingly, Geto agrees with this approach, expressing his frustration with the wavering value of non-sorcerers in his mind. Yuki warns Geto that whatever choice he makes will shape his future stance, either to hate or protect non-sorcerers. Yuki departs,
タイプ聞いてね。
assuring Geto not to worry about the star plasma vessel, suggesting that either another vessel exists or a new one has been born, ensuring Tenjin's stability. Meanwhile, Nanami is frustrated with a failed mission resulting in the death of Yubisa Nagami. Geto advises Nanami to calm down. Geto then handles a case involving two little girls accused of being monsters by an old couple. Frustrated with the couple's mistreatment, Geto confronts them and ultimately massacres 112 villagers using his curse manipulation. Gojo is handed a report of the incident by Yaga Sensei, and Geto is sentenced to death. Gojo is given the mission to execute Geto. In the city, Geto meets Shoko, confirming the charges against him. He calmly expresses his desire to create a world exclusively for sorcerers. Gojo arrives on the scene, yelling at Geto for having an impossible dream. Despite Gojo's anger, he cannot bring himself to attack Geto. Geto reveals that he has joined and taken over the Star religious group, killing its president. As tensions rise, Gojo goes after Megumi Fushiguro, the son of Toji Zenin. He attempts to explain about his clan and Megumi's father, but Megumi shows no interest. Gojo then wakes up from the dream, finding himself with Megumi, Itadori, and Kujisaki. The story takes a dark turn as Geto's actions and beliefs clash with the established order, and Gojo faces the challenge of dealing with his former friend and the consequences of his choices. The story continues with Itadori, Kujisaki, and Megumi discussing their plans. Megumi decides to go home, while Itadori suggests watching a horror movie, but Kujisaki opts for shopping instead. Ai Todo and Meimei recommend Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, Maki Zenin, Panda and Nobara Kyujisaki for promotion. Those recommended by at least 2 first-grade sorcerers must carry out a mission under an active first-grade or equivalent sorcerer. As they discuss their recommendations, Kyujisaki, returning from shopping, encounters Itadori's classmate, Kuroko Sato. Sato, who used to be small and heavy, has transformed and is interested in Itadori. Kyujisaki calls Megumi to help with the situation.
イタドリって彼女いる？
つまりそういうことか。
そういうことよ。
彼女はまずいないだろ。
And they arrange for Itadori to meet them at a family restaurant. Itadori arrives promptly and recognizes Sato. Despite Kyujisaki's initial concern about Itadori acting stupid, he handles the situation well, impressing Megumi and Kyujisaki.
奇遇。
Sato, who has always disliked other boys except Itadori, leaves in the evening without exchanging contacts with Itadori. Later, Itadori takes them to a movie. Meanwhile, Gojo has left the investigation of Kyoto to Yudaheim, who gathers Megumi, Itadori, and Kyujisaki for a mission. Yudaheim, suspicious of Mechamaru, goes after the real body of Mechamaru in the basement, discovering that the real Mechamaru is Kikichi Muta. As Yudaheim, Itadori, and the others investigate Mechamaru's basement, Yudaheim explains that Mechamaru's technique involves puppet manipulation, and due to his heavenly pact, he can control puppets throughout all of Japan. This ability makes him a potential mole capable of leaking information to enemy cursed users. Upon opening the gate, they find nothing, confirming Mechamaru's suspicious activities. Meanwhile, Gito and Mahito have reached Mechamaru's real body. Mechamaru has agreed to provide information to Gito and Mahito in exchange for Gito using Mahito's ideal transfiguration to fix Mechamaru's body. The agreement includes Gito fixing Mechamaru first and then killing him. Mechamaru, however, does not want to owe any debts to cursed spirits and insists that Mahito fix him first. As Mahito begins the process, Mechamaru creates multiple puppets to attack Mahito. Mahito swiftly destroys all the puppets, but when he looks back at Mechamaru, he has disappeared. A massive blast occurs, and a giant puppet emerges from the water with Mechamaru inside it. Gito has lowered a veil that cuts off signals, forcing Mechamaru to use any means necessary to contact Gojo and inform him about the Shibuya plot. Mechamaru's plan is to have Gojo protect him. Realizing the danger posed by Mahito, Mechamaru decides to exorcise him. Mechamaru has accumulated 17 years worth of cursed energy and dedicates 1 year of it to unleash the Ultra Cannon, a powerful attack aimed at Mahito. In the fiery clash between Mahito and Mechamaru, the battlefield became a spectacle of intense moves and cunning strategies. Now, Mechamaru, armed with 2 years worth of cursed energy, unleashes the Miracle Cannon, hoping to lure Mahito into a dodging spree. But Mahito, seemingly unfazed, continues his assault, as if he's got better things to do than pay attention to Mechamaru's fireworks. In a surprising turn, Mechamaru injects Mahito with a shot that turns the whole encounter into a chaotic explosion. Mahito, bewildered by Mechamaru's unexpected attack, finds himself airborne after a powerful kick. Little did he know, the injected shot played havoc with his very soul. Just when you think Mechamaru has this in the bag, Mahito pulls off a masterstroke, tweaking the shape of his soul to make it appear regenerated. The guy literally flies away in the form of a bird. Enter Gito, impressed by Mechamaru's meticulous preparation. This could be the moment for Gito to seize the day. Mechamaru, undeterred, launches the Pigeon Viola, an attack that's like the cursed energy version of a guided missile system. No matter where Mahito hides or what shape he takes, these cannons are locked and loaded. Mahito, not one to back down, rushes Mechamaru. It's a soulful struggle as Mahito tries to figure out which of Mechamaru's attacks will actually make a dent in his metaphysical self. As if the chaos wasn't enough, Mechamaru goes all out with a 5-year investment, the special attack Pigeon Viola. This time, it's multiple cannons on steroids. It's a visual feast of explosive chaos. Just when Mechamaru thinks he's got the upper hand, Mahito unleashes his ace, the domain expansion of self-embodiment of perfection.
はい、おしまい。
Mechamaru finds himself pinned down as Mahito, with an air of superiority, begins the ideal transfiguration. Mahito advises Mechamaru to keep his strategy free of hopes and dreams. Mechamaru unleashes the forbidden, the new shadow style, simple domain. It pierces through Mahito, neutralizing all other techniques. Gito and Mahito made their exit, leaving Mechamaru defeated.
No! God, please, no!
But not without a final, calculated move. As they retreated, Gito managed to pilfer the remaining cursed energy from Mechamaru, a sly maneuver to add more power to their dark arsenal. As the eerie events unfolded, the story shifted to a different scene. It's 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2018. and Tokyo's department store outlet becomes the center of an unexpected supernatural disturbance. A mysterious 400-meter radius veil descends, enveloping the area and trapping normal people within its confines. Meanwhile, sorcerers and assistant supervisors can move freely, but communication signals are blocked. The setting turns chaotic as people attending the Shibuya Halloween festival find themselves inexplicably drawn into the veil. It's a spectacle of confusion and panic as the supernatural force works its mysterious charm. Among those on the scene are seasoned sorcerers like Nido Nanami, Takuma Ino, and Megumi Fushiguro. Meanwhile, Naobito Zenin, Maki Zenin, and Kujisaki Nobara appear at different locations inside the veil. Outside the veil, Jujutsu High's second-year teacher and grade 1 sorcerer Atsuya Kusakabe, along with Panda, discuss the situation. They talk about the unusual decision to send Gojo alone to restore order in Shibuya. The rest of the teams are on standby, ready to catch any potential rebounds caused by Gojo's actions. Curiosity and concern intensify as Atsuya peeks inside the veil, revealing no immediate threat of cursed spirits or users wreaking havoc. However, the situation takes a sudden turn as the trapped people begin calling out for Gojo. It becomes clear that the veil won't allow anyone to leave until Gojo himself arrives inside. In a dramatic moment, Gojo, seemingly summoned by the calls, appears inside the veil. The story takes an intriguing twist, leaving readers on the edge of their seats, wondering how Gojo will navigate this mysterious and potentially perilous situation. As Gojo casually strolls atop the heads of trapped individuals within the subway, Mei Mei, Yu, and Itadori receive urgent information about another veil.
家族という雇用関係でしょよくわかっているじゃないか。
早く行こうよ。
This time, it's centered beneath the Meiji Shrine Station, trapping non-sorcerers in its mysterious confines. Meimei, being ordered to handle the situation, swiftly takes charge. Meanwhile, Gojo encounters Jogo, Choso, and Hanami, and the assistant supervisor explains the dire situation to Meimei and Itadori. They learn that 2 assistant supervisors have already fallen, and transfigured humans lurk between 2 barriers. Meimei employs a crow to stealthily infiltrate the underground subway, but the crow is swiftly smashed by a powerful cursed spirit. Facing a critical decision, Meimei presents Itadori with a choice to either confront numerous weak transfigured humans or a formidable cursed spirit. Armed with a map detailing the platform layout, Meimei informs Itadori of the transfigured humans' locations. The cursed spirit responsible for taking down the crow likely resides on the 2nd floor. With a calculated plan, Meimei decides to take exit 7 directly to the 4th floor to rescue civilians, while Itadori will enter the 2nd floor. As Itadori steps into the 2nd floor, he encounters a cursed spirit resembling a grasshopper. Curious about Mahito's location, Itadori questions the grasshopper, who claims to be protecting the veil on the lower floor. However, suspicion arises in Itadori as the grasshopper appears responsible for the veil and barrier. Suddenly, Itadori notices a nail in the ground, similar to those used by Gito. Wary of the suspicious object, he decides to destroy it first. Itadori's punch sends the grasshopper crashing down, but to his surprise, it gets back up and launches a relentless counterattack. Itadori, demonstrating agility, dodges the grasshopper's strikes and steps closer, initiating a fierce fistfight against the 4-fisted adversary. In a relentless barrage of strikes, Itadori pummels the grasshopper cursed spirit, breaking its stretched abdomen and instilling fear in the creature. As Itadori shatters the cursed object, the veil is lifted, revealing Meimei, Yu, and Itadori on the last floor. However, outside, Jogo takes a strategic stance, blocking the exit to prevent Gojo from escaping. Although Gojo has no intention of fleeing, Jogo has a different plan in mind. He surrounds Gojo with non-sorcerers, creating a grim situation. The trio of Jogo, Hanami, and Choso initiates a ruthless attack on the non-sorcerers, creating chaos. Amidst the chaos, Choso targets Gojo with his blood manipulation, creating a temporary blind spot. The blood fades in the air, and the trio charges forward, intending to unleash a combined assault on Gojo. To counter, Gojo slows down their attack, forcing them to utilize domain amplification and continue their offensive from opposite sides. In a surprising move, Gojo suddenly disappears from between Jogo and Hanami. Unable to use his domain expansion due to the large number of non-sorcerers present, Gojo faces the challenge of navigating this complex battlefield. Jogo realizes that their best chance is to keep Gojo focused on defeating cursed spirits and rescuing non-sorcerers. Unveiling his eyes by removing his blindfold, Gojo intensifies the stakes. The situation becomes a chess match between Jogo and Gojo, Meanwhile, Gito watches from the shadows, instructing Jogo to hold Gojo's attention for 20 minutes. After that, Gito plans to handle Gojo with the formidable prison realm technique. Gojo boldly points at Hanami, declaring his intent to take him down first. With a swift jump down the steps, Gojo challenges both Hanami and Jogo simultaneously, showcasing his unparalleled power. In a dazzling display of skill, Gojo overwhelms them, ripping off Jogo's arm with ease. It becomes clear that Gojo's earlier decorations were a misdirection, as he abandons the use of his limitless technique, focusing on compact attacks using cursed energy manipulation within the crowded space filled with humans. Despite Hanami attempting to utilize his technique, Gojo swiftly maneuvers on the roots of Hanami, reaching him and ripping off his horns. While Choso continues beheading humans, Gojo suspects him to be one of the incarnated death painting wombs. Jogo, attempting to attack Gojo, finds himself dismissed with casual indifference. Gojo explains to Jogo that the more he tries to neutralize Gojo's technique with domain amplification, the stronger Gojo must maintain his technique. Turning his attention to Hanami, Gojo crushes him using his repelling technique. Jogo attempts to distract Gojo by attacking humans, but it proves futile. Gojo's relentless pursuit ends with Hanami's demise, crushed against the wall. With the need to seal Gojo in the prison realm, Gito sets a daunting task for Jogo and the others. They must keep Gojo within the effective sealing range of 4 meters for at least 1 minute. Although a seemingly impossible task, Gito has a plan in mind. In an attempt to create distance, Jogo employs a hit-and-run strategy, throwing humans at Gojo while urging Choso to assist. Choso, using his blood manipulation, continues to cause chaos among the humans. Gojo unveils his plan to beat them in close combat, acknowledging that he can't save everyone. Instead, he promises to exorcise them. Gito seizes the opportune moment to elevate the stakes against Gojo. A train filled with transfigured humans arrives, adding to the pandemonium as they start attacking people. Mahito, strategically positioned inside the train, removes the sealing barrier, causing even more chaos as additional humans rain down onto the platform. Choso mercilessly massacres while Mahito continues his transfiguration of humans, plunging the entire area into utter turmoil. Recognizing that Gojo is not one to rely on emotions, but rather on cold logic, Gito knows he needs to push Gojo to the edge. In a desperate move to regain control, Gojo finally unleashes his domain expansion, the Infinite Void. It's a risky gamble, lasting only 0.2 of a second, a limit set purely on instinct by Gojo. Within this brief moment, a massive influx of information is imparted to the non-sorcerers and transfigured humans present, a calculated attempt to shock them into a state of awareness. Though Gojo dismisses his domain expansion, the aftermath is swift and brutal. In a mere 299 seconds, the strongest sorcerer of the modern age ruthlessly slaughters roughly 1,000 transfigured humans, sparing no mercy. However, amidst the chaos, Gojo notices the prison realm object on the floor. Before he can react, Gito materializes, freezing Gojo in his tracks. Memories flood Gojo's mind as he grapples with the reality that the person standing before him is not Gito. In a shocking revelation, Gito opens the stitches on his head, revealing a gruesome sight as he removes his own skull. He explains to Gojo that this is his unique technique, an ability to pass from one body to another by replacing the host's brain with his own. This grants him the capability to utilize the techniques etched into the bodies he inhabits. Gito tells Gojo, declaring his intent to seal him away for 1,000 years. Gojo, trapped and confronted with the unimaginable, struggles against the overwhelming reality. Meanwhile, the news reaches Yuji, informing him of Gojo's apparent sealing, leaving a lingering sense of uncertainty. In a sudden turn of events, Mechamaru reveals his true identity as the object in Itadori's ear. He informs Itadori that Gojo has been sealed. Unexpectedly, Gito's right arm rebels against him, strangling its own body, a first-time occurrence where a body resists Gito's control. As the situation becomes increasingly chaotic, Mechamaru explains that the prison realm is no longer usable since it can now hold only one person, and the block in Gito's hands becomes too heavy and falls, breaking it. The veil begins to shake as Gito struggles with the weight of the information processed from Gojo's sealed state. Mechamaru counts on everyone to act, instructing Mei to follow his insurance plan and urging Itadori to escape. Two powerful cursed spirits, stronger than the grasshopper, approach Mei and Itadori. Mechamaru pleads with Mei to follow his instructions, and she agrees, unleashing her battle axe to face the incoming threats. Nanami, an assistant supervisor, decides to confront the user who lowered the veil, instructing Megumi and others to rescue common people. All three teams enter the veil, but an assistant supervisor is fatally stabbed by a cursed user, Uraheim. The prison realm is still processing information about Gojo, rendering Gito unable to move him. Mechamaru's second object, however, is discovered and destroyed by Mahito. Mechamaru relays the information to Itadori, instructing him to inform all sorcerers to cover Shibuya Station's exits. Itadori enters the veil, encountering transfigured humans, and contacts Nanami to inform him of Gojo's sealing. Nanami, Megumi, and Ino adjust their plans and decide to meet Itadori. Meanwhile, Choso and Mahito harbor their own intentions regarding Itadori. Gito, confident about Gojo's sealing, considers Sukuna an alternative plan. Team Nanami arrives, and Itadori reveals Mechamaru's existence inside Gito's body. Shibuya Station is overrun with cursed spirits, and Nanami instructs Megumi, Ino, and Itadori to meet Team Zenin, inform them of the situation, and request their assistance. Nanami takes charge of handling the situation with Ajichi. Ino emphasizes the critical need to save Gojo at any cost, stressing the potential catastrophic consequences if they fail. Yuji, with the subtlety of a wrecking ball, decides to introduce his fist to the veil, leaving Ino wide-eyed at the sheer force. Megumi, always the strategist, suggests they play a game of find the weak spot in the unbeatable veil and poke a hole in it, even if it's just for a nanosecond. Yuji, in a moment of brilliant deduction, recalls the Hakajuku incident and posits that the veil dropper is probably lurking outside, not wanting to risk being caught in the act. Our trio of heroes concludes that the mysterious curtain lower must be standing out like a sore thumb somewhere, supporting the barrier. Central Tower of Shibuya becomes the suspected hiding spot. Channeling their inner Spider-Men, Yuji and Ino ascend the tower with Maki's and strings, only to discover cursed nails embedded in the ground, strategically placed by the veil's manipulator. Ino, like a cursed detective, removes one nail, but alas, the veil persists. The cursed user, now facing off against Yuji, reveals two more nails in his arsenal. As Ino engages in a seance technique straight out of a mystical playbook, Megumi and Yuji take on the formidable half-bald adversary. Megumi is desperately trying to keep up with Itadori's lightning-fast moves. The half-bald menace seems impervious to damage. Not a scratch on him despite the relentless onslaught. The first grandson, in a noble attempt to protect Granny Ogami, throws everything he's got. Granny Ogami's aura undergoes a sudden transformation, and the grandson witnesses a mind-bending sight, something that morphs into half-Zen and Toji. December 7, 1989, marked the entrance of chaos into the world, as the unstoppable force that is Gojo graced the earth with his presence. Meanwhile, the elderly Granny Ogami and her grandsons, former assassins with a penchant for completing contracts, found themselves facing a task beyond their usual routine. Their mission, eliminate a child born with 6 eyes, the reward tempting them with a staggering bounty of over 100 million yen. Little did they know, the balance of power in their world was about to be rewritten. As the narrative unfolds, the half-bald assailant retaliates with a vengeance, engaging in a fierce exchange of blows with Megumi. In the midst of the battle, Megumi uncovers the mysterious technique employed by the bald adversary, a revelation that adds a strategic layer to the skirmish. Meanwhile, the imposter Toji ruthlessly handles Ino, leaving our protagonists, Megumi and Yuji, to confront the half-bald adversary. Surprising everyone, Yuji displays a level of power that catches the half-baldy off guard. Megumi, the tactician, employs a hit-and-run strategy to mess with the baldy's head, quite literally. The unique twist in the adversary's technique is revealed. The more powerful the attacks against him, the weaker they become. Armed with this knowledge, Megumi, with a touch of clairvoyance, envisions the future through a swarm of hairs. Utilizing a small frog spirit, Megumi weakens the half-baldy before launching a barrage of deceptively feeble-looking blows. It's a strategic dance that culminates in the triumphant defeat of the formidable half-baldy. As Nanami approached exit number 13, the grim sight of the assistant supervisor's lifeless body greeted him, a stark reminder of the perilous situation. Meanwhile, Mei showcased her formidable prowess by dispatching 2 cursed spirits with brutal efficiency, reducing them to mere memories. The cursed user, faced with impending doom, found himself pleading for mercy from the merciless Mei. Megumi and Yuji, determined to lift the veil restricting sorcerers, witnessed Ino's unexpected fall from the central tower. Reacting with lightning speed, they both rushed to catch him, a display of teamwork amidst the chaos. However, the situation took an unforeseen turn when the real Toji took control of the grandson's body, leaving the old hag perplexed. The grandson, now a puppet to Toji's will, received a chilling order to eliminate the sorcerers, starting with the old hag herself.
術師は殺せか。
Maki, showing leadership in the face of adversity, directed Nida and Kyujisaki to move towards Ajichi-san, while Megumi stayed by Ino's side. Yuji, undeterred, decided to venture further into the station, braving the unknown. Elsewhere, Mei, always with an eye for profit, contemplated how she could turn a favor for Gojo into a lucrative opportunity. The cursed user, previously wreaking havoc on assistant supervisors, now found himself facing the formidable duo of Nida and Kyujisaki. The cursed sword with a hand for its handle became a sinister instrument in the cursed user's hands, creating a perilous dance between him and Kyujisaki. In the midst of the chaos, Nida suffered injuries, and Kyujisaki valiantly fought to regain control. Just when the tide seemed dire, Hanami burst onto the scene, his serious demeanor signaling a force to be reckoned with. Stripping off his tie, Hanami approached the cursed user, demanding information about his allies. The cursed user, like a ragdoll, was sent flying by Hanami's punches, begging for forgiveness and revealing crucial details before being expelled from the scene. However, the situation escalated as Guido appeared before Mei, choosing not to engage directly but summoning a special grade disease-cursed spirit, the smallpox deity, which ensnared Mei in a domain expansion coffin. The excitement of facing a true threat rekindled within Mei as she awaited her next move. Nanami, in the meantime, informed Nida of Ajichi's demise and headed towards Maki Zenin to lend his support. As Yuji pressed further into Shibuya Station, he found himself face to face with Choso,
Itadori Yuuji.
driven by a burning desire for vengeance against the one he deemed responsible for his brother's death, Yuji Itadori. The stage is set for a clash of wills and curses in the heart of Shibuya. As Yuji strolled towards Shibuya Station, he witnessed these funky transformed humans attacking the regular folks. Out of the blue, Senior Inumaki showed up, and Yuji, being the smart cookie he is, decided to delegate the situation to him. Upon entering Shibuya Station, lo and behold, he bumps into Choso. Choso, the blood maestro, unleashed his Peaster resistance, the blood manipulation convergence. This technique squishes blood to the max, focuses it at a single point, and hurls it at Yuji. Like a boss, Yuji deftly dodges the blood beam and zooms in on Choso, delivering a punch with a double impact. But wait, Choso's got a burning question for Yuji. Did his brother have any profound last words before Yuji sent them to the great beyond? Yuji, initially puzzled, there was nothing specific, just some tears shed in their final moments. This revelation sends Choso into a rage, and he unleashes another onslaught. Yuji, being the resilient lad he is, dodges some attacks but gets a beating in the close combat department. Choso, being the blood connoisseur, absorbs the spilled blood, leaving Yuji pondering his next move. Our hero starts analyzing Choso's attacks, and with a burst of inspiration, he lures Choso into attacking after a gravity-defying jump. Dodging the blood beam, Yuji charges towards Choso, having figured out that the beam is only lightning fast during launch. Just as victory seems within Yuji's grasp, small blood bombs behind him explode, giving Choso the perfect chance to stab Yuji's feet. Despite the pain, Yuji manages to land 2 kicks on Choso's head before getting stabbed in the belly by Choso's blood beam. In the midst of agony, Yuji hears Mechamaru's voice, providing information on the Kamo family's blood manipulation. Unfortunately, Mechamaru doesn't know any weaknesses but suggests a rather intriguing idea: hide in the bathroom. Choso, thinking Yuji's antics are foolish, hears a voice from the bathroom mocking his brothers, fueling his fury. Mechamaru meets his demise, but Yuji, in a stroke of brilliance, destroys all the bathroom nulls, causing a rain of diluting blood. Now, Yuji has control in the bathroom, setting the stage for a close-quarters showdown. Choso and Yuji engage in a fierce exchange of blows, showcasing their martial prowess. Just when victory seems imminent for Yuji, Choso pulls a sneaky move, compressing his blood to the max and piercing Yuji's liver. Yuji, not one to back down easily, has only hit Choso 3 times but managed to inflict severe damage, breaking one of Choso's teeth. Choso, weighing the risks, decides that Yuji's existence is a greater threat than his own demise from extreme techniques. The 2 fighters trade multiple blows, and Choso nearly pierces through Yuji's head, with Choso creating blood explosions near Yuji's eyes, blinding him in the left eye. Yuji makes a bold move, a left-handed punch using the right hand as bait. Choso lands multiple fatal blows, seemingly on the verge of victory, when Sukuna, the cheeky devil, mocks Yuji for falling to someone like Choso. Just as Choso is about to deliver the finishing blow, a flood of non-existent memories invades his mind. Him, Yuji, and his dead brothers dining together. Talk about a plot twist. Mei found herself grappling with the perilous chicken pox disease curse. Realizing the curse's sneaky tactic of confining her within a coffin and contemplating the dire consequences, she swiftly took refuge behind a gravestone, clutching Yuyu for safety. Mei knew that 2 more attacks would render her immobile, and facing Gito in such a state was not an option she fancied. Analyzing the situation, Mei deduced that the cursed spirit targeted the strongest cursed energy within its domain reflexively. Taking a bold step, she utilized one of her crows to shift her cursed energy. To safeguard herself, Mei made the tough decision to redirect the curse towards Yuyu, knowing he could buy her some precious time. In a poignant moment, Mei asked Yuyu if he could sacrifice himself for her. Showing great courage, Yuyu agreed to the plan and willingly got restrained into the coffin. The moment Yuyu released his cursed energy, Mei suppressed hers. Mei charged towards the cursed spirit, stealthily approaching and skillfully separating its arms from its body with her battle axe. Yuyu, using his shadow-style simple domain to counter the curse's domain. The cursed spirit, about to execute the gravestone move, suddenly vanished, attempting a surprise attack from behind. Mei's last remaining crow intervened with lightning speed, punching a hole right through the cursed spirit. Mei unleashed her blackbird manipulation attack, the kamikaze bird strike. The crow committed suicide in a spectacular display, but Mei removed the limit on its typically feeble cursed energy. This unleashed a force no ordinary man could withstand, with the sole exception of the formidable Gojo. Exiting the domain, Mei found herself face to face with Gito, who stood at a distance, no doubt intrigued by her prowess. Meanwhile, elsewhere at Shibuya Station, Nanami, Maki, and Zenin were making their way down.
酔っ払いよりは役に立つさ。
As they descended, a cursed spirit named Dagon emerged. Zenin seized and delivered a powerful punch, causing Dagon to regurgitate hundreds of human skeletons. Dagon, realizing the death of his comrade Hanami, transformed furiously. The old man Zenin, known for his eccentricities, began teasing Dagon with irrelevant information about FPS. Nanami took the initiative to attack, but all 3 first-grade sorcerers found themselves incapable of inflicting damage on Dagon. The cursed spirit created a defensive water barrier, and despite their concerted efforts, they couldn't make a dent. In a surprising turn, the old man Zenin showcased his unique projection sorcery, splitting 1 second into 24 frames and allowing him to trace actions within that time frame. Zenin became the fastest sorcerer aside from Gojo. With swift and precise movements, he hindered Dagon's ability to activate his technique, maintaining an overwhelming pace. However, Dagon, undeterred, unleashed his domain expansion, the horizon of the captivating scan, transporting all the sorcerers to a beautiful beach. The battle against Dagon intensified as he unleashed his domain's guaranteed hit attack. Meanwhile, Mahito showcased his secret technique, the art of falling blossom emotions, expertly dodging piranhas that carried the domain's guaranteed hit effect. Dagon, satisfied with testing the strength of the sorcerers, decided to up the stakes. He split his energy in a calculated ratio, allocating 70% for Mahito and 30% for Nanami. Employing his death swarm technique, Dagon summoned sea monsters to assail the sorcerers. Nanami found himself surrounded by colossal fishes, while Mahito utilized his simple domain to counter the onslaught with his own cursed energy. The tension reached its peak when Dagon, in a swift maneuver, broke Mahito's simple domain with a powerful punch. Maki suffered a forceful kick, and just when things seemed dire, Megumi entered the scene, punching a hole through the domain to join the fray. Bringing Maki's favorite weapon with him, Megumi unleashed a relentless assault with nunchucks, successfully removing the guaranteed hit effect. Megumi wasted no time deploying his domain, initiating a tug of war against Dagon's forces. The battle now hinged on domain supremacy, with Dagon needing to crush Megumi's domain to regain the guaranteed hit effect. As the clash unfolded, Nanami stepped in to assist Megumi, conveying the current situation. Mahito, having lost his right arm, and Maki decided to keep Dagon engaged, allowing Megumi the opportunity to create an opening. Megumi diligently worked to poke a hole in the domain, aware that Dagon should not be able to utilize his domain expansion multiple times in a single day. The plan was to escape once the hole was established, putting victory within their grasp. Dagon, however, wasn't one to be outsmarted easily. As Nanami called Maki and Mahito to assemble, a sudden twist occurred. Toji entered the domain, introducing a new dynamic to the unfolding battle. Toji, seizing Maki's weapon, flung her into the air, sealing the escape hole and surprising Mahito. The revelation struck. The person before them was none other than Toji. Toji, a man devoid of conventional cursed energy, unleashed his raw strength on Dagon. Brutalizing the cursed spirit with relentless punches, kicks, and throws, Toji demonstrated a prowess that transcended the need for cursed energy. Dagon, having mistaken Toji for a powerless opponent, found himself overwhelmed by the sheer physicality of the onslaught. No matter how many sea monsters Dagon summoned, it seemed insufficient against Toji's relentless assault. In a desperate attempt to gain the upper hand, Dagon dragged Toji underwater, unleashing massive monsters to subdue him. However, Toji massacred the aquatic threats and resurfaced, ready to deliver the finishing blows. Sharpening Maki's nunchucks into a deadly stabbing weapon, Toji left Dagon in disbelief. The cursed spirit couldn't fathom losing to someone lacking in cursed energy. Attempting an escape, Dagon found himself pushed down by Mahito, and Toji pierced hundreds of holes into Dagon's head with the sharpened nunchucks. With the removal of the domain expansion, Toji approached the group, and Megumi was forcibly ejected from the scene. Jogo's sudden appearance added a new layer to the unfolding chaos. With a fiery onslaught, Jogo knocked out everyone present. As Jogo was about to finish Mahito, he sensed Sukuna's ominous presence. The revelation that someone had released Sukuna's fingers in Shibuya dawned on them.
Sukuna.
Nanako and Namiko, having given a finger to Sukuna, were targeted by Jogo's flames. In a surprising turn, they managed to save themselves using a technique and captured the moment in a selfie. The markings of Sukuna appeared on Yuji's face as Jogo revealed Gito's plan. If Yuji consumed 10 fingers at once, the control over Sukuna would temporarily shift to the malevolent entity. Jogo, possessing 10 more fingers, fed them all to Yuji. Nanako and Namiko returned to life, but as Jogo prepared to attack them once more, Sukuna intervened, severing Jogo's hand.
1秒やる。どけ。
An overwhelming evil aura emanated from Sukuna, distinct from Gojo's. Sweating in fear, everyone knelt before Sukuna. As Jogo and the others bowed,
また膝で足りると思ったか？実るほどなんとやらだ。
Nanako made a request. She asked Sukuna to kill the entity inside Gito's body, promising information on another finger in return. Sukuna beheaded Mamiko and dismantled Nanako, shifting his attention to Jogo. Jogo, driven by a desire for Sukuna's complete resurrection, sought a pact with Sukuna before Yuji took control. Sukuna, with his own plans in mind, proposed a challenge to Jogo. If Jogo could land even a single blow on him, Sukuna would work under him. In the tangled chaos of Shibuya, Megumi found himself desperately trying to evade Toji's relentless pursuit. All normal and transfigured humans had been evacuated by Inumaki, leaving Megumi to face the relentless onslaught alone. Utilizing his rapid escape technique, Megumi conjured a swarm of hares to aid in his escape, sensing the ominous presence of Sukuna and feeling overwhelmed by the complex situation in Shibuya.
I just felt Sukuna's presence. What the hell is happening in Shibuya?
Despite his attempts to outmaneuver Toji, running in every direction proved futile as Toji seemingly anticipated every move. Attempts at direct confrontation proved equally fruitless, with Toji effortlessly blocking Megumi's attacks with just one hand. In a desperate move, Megumi summoned hundreds of rabbits to overwhelm Toji. However, Toji responded by crumbling the floor with a single step, reducing the rabbits to flesh with the crumbled stone and dispatching them with precision using his fingers. Meanwhile, Atsuya Sensei continued to procrastinate on the 5th floor, avoiding potential danger. Using the excuse of saving kids possibly trapped within the veil, he successfully misled Panda.
この中の人間は五条だけじゃないでしょうが
As they navigated through Shibuya, they encountered a mysterious warning from a lady and a man, cautioning them against engaging in a fight. Toji persisted in his relentless pursuit of Megumi, who continued to run and dodge the various obstacles thrown at him, including trucks, drainage caps, and other hazardous objects hurled by his own father. At Shibuya Station, Principal Yaga and his subordinate, having healed Ino and Ajichi with her reverse curse technique, covered the floor with transfigured human corpses to avoid detection. Megumi decided to gamble on a risky move, attempting to lure Toji into a position where he could counterattack. However, Toji's speed proved too much and the plan failed. Suddenly, a realization struck Toji. The boy he was relentlessly pursuing was none other than his own son. In a surprising turn of events, Toji asked Megumi for his name. Megumi responded with Fushiguro, avoiding the more problematic Zenin surname. Toji, seemingly content with this answer, shocked everyone by stabbing himself with the nunchuck.
全員じゃねえのか。よかったな。
As Megumi moved towards Misiari, a cursed user hunting assistant supervisors, he faced an unexpected attack. The true subordinates of Gido ordered Etsuya and Panda to surrender, while the unfortunate deaths of Mimiko and Nanako at Sukuna's hands were confirmed. The tension in Shibuya escalated as Atsuya decided to engage with the mysterious foes, initiating his evening moon swords drawing attack. Just as the confrontation was about to commence, the lights went out and a colossal explosion rocked the area. Sukuna's laughter echoed ominously, signaling a shift in the unfolding chaos. Jogo, driven by an audacious desire to land a single blow on Sukuna, engaged in a futile attempt. However, Sukuna effortlessly dodged and dismantled Jogo's body parts, showcasing a vast power gap. Jogo, having inquired about Sukuna's strength compared to his fingers, realized the staggering difference, somewhere between 8 or 9 fingers. Jogo unleashed his maximum power, creating a meteor of magma. In a surprising turn of events, Sukuna waited until the final moment and then teleported them to safety, revealing his astounding speed and mastery. Sukuna then challenged Jogo to a fiery showdown, pitting Jogo's best technique, the ball of fire, against Sukuna's arrow of fire. Jogo, apologizing to Dagon and Hanami for his failure, expressed his desire to meet them in the next life. Sukuna spoke to Jogo in his afterlife. Sukuna acknowledged Jogo's strength, making him cry in the face of his imminent demise. Jogo met his end in a blaze of fire. In the aftermath, Yuram appeared behind Sukuna, kneeling and greeting him. Sukuna, pleased to see her, welcomed the unfolding developments in Shibuya with a sense of dark satisfaction. Gido found himself exhausted after running and taking a hit from the relentless cursed user. In a last-ditch effort, he attempted to play his trump card by summoning a Shikigami, a powerful entity that had eluded the control of every sorcerer who had tried to tame it. The presence of this unmatched entity caught Sukuna's attention, prompting him to investigate personally. Before leaving, Sukuna instructed Yuram to complete preparations for his arrival. Megumi, in a strategic move, initiated a ritual to force the cursed user to participate. Among the entities he summoned was Mahoraga, the 8-handled sword and divergent Sela divine general. This powerful Shikigami, untied by Megumi, unleashed its might. Mahoraga first punched away Megumi and then set its sights on Haruta Shijimo. As it prepared to strike a fatal blow, Sukuna intervened to save Haruta. No. Witnessing Megumi lying in a pool of his own sauce, Sukuna decided to heal him. To preserve Megumi's life, it became imperative to take down the Shikigami. As an outsider, Sukuna was the only one capable of achieving this and making it appear as if the exorcism ritual never happened. Mahoraga, equipped with the Sword of Extermination specialized for cursed spirits, initiated an attack on Sukuna. Sukuna skillfully defended and counterattacked with his dismantling technique. Mahoraga, functioning as a reverse curse technique and carrying positive energy, posed a unique challenge. If Sukuna were a cursed spirit, a single attack from Mahoraga's sword would have caused him to vanish. The confrontation escalated into a fierce battle, with Sukuna and Mahoraga exchanging powerful blows, tossing each other around buildings, and causing widespread destruction to Shibuya's infrastructure. Sukuna and Mahoraga reached unprecedented levels of intensity. Despite Sukuna's relentless attacks and countless slashes, Mahoraga quickly recovered from the dismantle technique. The two entities engaged in a spectacular clash, tossing heavy objects at each other with buildings crumbling like tiny pebbles. Sukuna shattered Mahoraga's extermination sword with a single bite, demonstrating his overwhelming power. The remaining humans in Shibuya struggled to save themselves from falling structures as the two mighty beings continued their destructive confrontation. Mahoraga, growing in size, wielded metro trains like nunchucks, adding an intriguing twist to the fight that fascinated Sukuna. Sukuna cut Mahoraga into pieces, but the Shikigami rapidly recovered, turning back to its normal form. Realizing that Mahoraga's ability resembled Yamato no Orochi, Sukuna noted the Shikigami's adaptability and perceptive nature. Fury's incantation and the magic wheel on Mahoraga's head indicated a complete cycle and harmony, allowing the Shikigami to adapt to all phenomena. Sukuna found himself captivated by Megumi's unique abilities. In a decisive move, Sukuna unleashed his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. Unlike traditional domain expansions, Sukuna's technique made the innate domain visible, painting directly in the sky. This divine technique allowed Sukuna to reduce Mahoraga to cells. Sukuna's relentless series of attacks within the guaranteed hit range continued, with Mahoraga regenerating each time. Recognizing the only way to defeat Mahoraga was to utilize a technique faster than the Shikigami could adapt, Sukuna pressed on. The regeneration of Mahoraga approached its end, and Sukuna's attacks generated enough heat to burn 100 meters of radius to ashes. Finally, Mahoraga was defeated. However, before fading away, Sukuna took the opportunity to kill Haruta. As Sukuna shifted, Megumi to Yaga Sensei and Miss Eri, Yuji, who had returned to consciousness, witnessed the devastation caused by Sukuna in Shibuya. Overwhelmed by the memories of Sukuna's actions during his unconscious state, Yuji mentally broke down and began crying, expressing a desire for death. However, he gathered himself, determined to save his comrades. Meanwhile, a half-burned Hanami headed outside to the surface. As Yuji, overwhelmed and mentally broken, made his way towards Shibuya Station, memories of his childhood where people bullied his family for being cursed flooded his mind. Meanwhile, Nanami, exhausted and feeling the weight of his sorcerer duties, embarked on his last walk, imagining a peaceful beach on a sunny day. Despite his tired and half-burned body, Nanami confronted hundreds of transfigured humans on the platform, thinking about his comrades and expressing weariness of being a sorcerer. With a covered blade, Nanami slashed through the transfigured humans, but exhaustion set in, and he found himself overwhelmed by the relentless attacks. Frustration consumed him, but he regained composure when Mahito arrived on the scene. Yuji, having also arrived, witnessed the unfolding confrontation. Nanami, seeing Haibara in front of him, gathered his courage and entrusted the rest to those present. In a final act of defiance, Mahito exploded his upper body in front of Yuji. Filled with frustration, Yuji charged towards Mahito. Mahito, using soul manipulation and transfiguration, attempted to distract Yuji with a barrage of attacks using his blade. However, Mahito failed to pierce through Yuji's resolve. In a moment of revelation, Mahito reminded Yuji of his own struggles with remorse and the need to accept certain truths. Yuji, recalling Nanami's last words, managed to calm his anger. Activating his cursed energy, Yuji began walking towards Mahito. In response, Mahito also charged towards Yuji, activating his own cursed energy. A fierce clash ensued, with Yuji landing a dropkick and a series of punches, attempting to push away the cursed spirit while suppressing the surrounding area. As Yuji continued to dodge Mahito's attacks, the two engaged in a fierce battle within a falling lift. Yuji showcased his agility, dodging Mahito's strikes and countering with powerful punches. Mahito, aware of the risk, understood that a mistake on his part could lead to his demise. He decided to focus on attacking the transfigured humans, recognizing the effectiveness of using them against Yuji's soul. Mahito attempted to escape, and Yuji followed in pursuit. Along the way, Yuji encountered two men who warned him about the monsters. Mistakenly thinking them to be human, Yuji approached, only to be caught off guard as one of the men delivered a powerful punch, revealing that it was Mahito wearing the skin of a human. To further complicate matters, Mahito transfigured another man into a sword, using transfigured humans against Yuji, knowing it would have a profound impact on his soul. Mahito planned to exploit this strategy to crush Yuji. Meanwhile, Mahito had created a clone before separating from Jogo and Dagon. The real Mahito continued his confrontation with Yuji while the clone encountered Kyujisaki. Kyujisaki, aware of Mahito's soul-related techniques, understood the importance of avoiding physical contact with him. In response, Kyujisaki initiated the first attack. Nida earnestly warns Kyujisaki about the perils of venturing into the Veil, emphasizing the need to avoid reckless actions. Kyujisaki, well aware of Nida's concerns, grapples with the internal conflict between watching her comrades battle and heeding the cautionary advice. Meanwhile, Mahito endeavors to crush Yuji's soul by unleashing transfigured humans upon him. Simultaneously, a clone Mahito engages in a relentless assault on Kyujisaki. Undeterred, Kyujisaki skillfully evades Mahito's attacks while countering with her cursed energy-powered nails, deftly avoiding both Mahito's hands and his attempts to interfere with others' souls. In a strategic move, Kyujisaki wears down her own spirit to assist the clone Mahito. However, Mahito manages to land a significant blow, inflicting a minor injury on Kyujisaki's shoulder. Persisting in her assault, Kyujisaki drops unnoticed nails on the ground, seizing the opportunity to utilize her hairpin attack, expanding the nails and leaping onto the clone Mahito. In her pocket, she harbors something that could turn the tide in her favor. As Kyujisaki pins down the clone and nails its head, the real Mahito, intending to finish Yuji, receives an unexpected, fatal blow. Sensing her cursed energy erupting nearby, Kyujisaki realizes that the Mahito in front of her lacks the potent cursed energy characteristic of the real one. A triumphant smile graces her face as she discerns that she's facing a clone incapable of using any technique. Meanwhile, the real Mahito, recovering from Kyujisaki's attack, undergoes a relentless beating from Yuji, who pummels him like a punching bag. The clone Mahito decides to reunite with the real Mahito, and the two Mahitos converge. The real Mahito, recovering but still restricted in movement, rushes towards Kyujisaki, touching her on the head. Kujisaki experiences a rush of emotions as her life flashes before her eyes. From her troublesome childhood in the village, where she believed everyone was mad except for her, to her friendship with Fumi and the realization that being a stranger is harder than being a friend. Her elder friend Sayori's presence softened her demeanor, but the unsettling atmosphere at Sayori's house led to her departure from the village. As Kujisaki pursued high school in Tokyo, she discovered that not everyone was mad, and her past experiences shaped her perception of the world. In a poignant moment, Kujisaki apologizes to Fumi for not fulfilling a promise, and just as she reflects on her life, the part of her face touched by Mahito explodes. Urging Yuji to inform everyone that she had a pretty good life, Kujisaki found herself in an awkward situation when she accidentally spilled coffee on Gojo's expensive shirt, priced at a staggering 250,000 yen. And as they scrambled to gather money for a replacement, Gojo walked into the room, inquiring about his shirt. Sensing trouble, Yuji instinctively stood in front of Kujisaki. However, their concerns shifted dramatically when Mahito entered the scene. Yuji, overwhelmed by emotions, began to lose control and cry. Mahito, seizing the opportunity, charged towards the defenseless Yuji and unleashed a powerful black flash, sending him flying meters away, smashing him into a wall, kicking him, and reveling in his suffering. As Mahito prepared to deliver a fatal blow to Yuji, a sudden clap replaced Yuji with a rock, and Todo made a stylish entrance, discussing the beauty of the world. Todo, initially arriving to save Gojo, altered his plans upon learning that Gito had left with the prison realm. As Yuji regained consciousness, he was met with Todo's presence, triggering a mental breakdown as he grieved the loss of his comrades. Despite Mahito's attempts to attack Yuji, Todo skillfully swapped Mahito's position with his clap. Todo, in an effort to console Yuji, emphasized the shared identity of Jujutsu sorcerers and the absence of sin or punishment in their calling. He urged Yuji to focus on fulfilling the entrusted responsibilities of his fallen comrades rather than dwelling on the meaning of their deaths. Meanwhile, Miwa, equipped with the last remaining Mechamaru device, rushed towards Shibuya with backup. Mechamaru, in a heartfelt confession, apologized for his perceived weakness before succumbing to his demise. Todo and Yuji continued their relentless assault on Mahito, breaking through the ground and descending to the depths of Shibuya. Mahito, realizing the diminishing state of Yuji's soul and his own declining soul percentage, pondered the possibility of killing Todo with a single touch. As they fought, Mahito summoned cursed spirits to hinder Todo, focusing on countering his troublesome technique. Todo, the sole user of Black Flash in the current battle, contemplated a strategy to maintain the delicate balance of the situation. After intense contemplation, Todo finally unleashed the power of Black Flash, marking a turning point as all three combatants reached 120% of their potential. Mahito, employing soul multiplicity, body repel and unleashing multiple cursed spirits, created a chaotic battleground to impede place swapping. The fierce battle in Shibuya continued. Todo, always ready for a good time, decided to play musical chairs with Mahito and Yuji. With a snap, Todo swapped Mahito with Yuji. Now, things got a bit weird. Mahito decided to pull a magic trick straight out of a horror show and separated his head from his lower body. The lower body then started attacking Yuji and Todo, doing its best impression of a breakdancing zombie. Mahito, ever the overachiever, grew a new body and unleashed his soul multiplicity, polymorphic soul isomer, because why settle for one body when you can have a muscular transfigured one made from a chaotic mix of souls and flesh? Todo, the master strategist, quickly realized that Mahito's body power ratio after the split was 8-2, so he swapped out the weak body to face Yuji. Little did he know, the transfigured human was aiming for gold in the heavyweight division. Todo got thrown through a building, and now he's questioning his life choices. But wait, there's a plot twist. Todo claps back, literally, and lands a punch on the transfigured human. Turns out, all it took was one solid blow to take down the muscle-bound monstrosity. Todo turns around, thinking it's all over, only to face two more similarly offensive transfigured humans. Mahito, meanwhile, combines his remaining body parts and continues the attack, turning Shibuya into a supernatural wrestling ring. Yuji, in the midst of the chaos, charges towards Mahito to deliver a swift kick. Mahito catches Yuji mid-air and throws him away like a disgruntled parent dealing with a tantrum-throwing toddler. As Yuji runs back towards Todo, Mahito follows, because why not? Mahito can't use the domain expansion because that would mean a face-off with Sukuna, and nobody wants that. But Mahito, being the sly fox, pulls a trick from the Gojo playbook and activates domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection, giving himself a mere 0.2 seconds of domain expansion life. Todo, not to be outdone, expands a simple domain Yuki Tsukumo taught him. Now, the real showdown begins. Yuji charges faster than a caffeine-fueled chia, aiming to exorcise Mahito before he can say curse. However, Mahito launches his technique faster than you can say plot twist, and we're in for a wild ride. Todo's hand starts transfiguring, and he separates it from his body. Mahito throws a black flash punch. Todo defends with cursed energy, and suddenly Todo's locket falls to the ground, revealing a photo of a girl and Yuji. Todo, fueled by the power of background music, confidently starts beating Mahito. Todo decides to take a breather, leaving the stage to Yuji. Mahito, not one to be outdone, uses ideal transfiguration, changing into an unbridled soul form. Mahito and Yuji charge towards each other, throwing punches that would make even the gods flinch. Yuji lands a punch on Mahito's ribs, but basically Mahito counters, stabbing Yuji's shoulder. The two continue their dance of destruction, with Yuji desperately needing to activate the black flash at maximum power. The bodies are giving up, but the souls are still kicking. They charge towards each other, and just when it seems like Mahito is about to deliver the final blow, Todo reappears, swapping Yuji's position. Yuji, now in prime black flash mode, lands a devastating punch on Mahito, sending him back to his less intimidating form. The stock of transfigured humans is out, and Yuji is on a mission. Mahito, realizing he's in deep trouble, starts running away. He throws mud and rocks at Yuji, who sees Mahito as a wolf and kicks him like he's asking for treats. Gito appears, asking if Mahito wants to be saved. Shibuya has turned into a post-apocalyptic playground, and Panda is on a mission to find Kusakabe amidst the rubble. After some expert detective work, Panda locates Kusakabe. Meanwhile, in the tropical paradise of Malaysia, Mei Mei is casually sharing a bed with Yu. Choso, after a brief nap and some introspection, wakes up determined to figure out who this Yuji character is. Back in the chaos of Shibuya, Yuji is on a collision course with Gito. Gito pulls off some gravity-defying moves. In reality, he just tripped. Undeterred, Yuji charges again, only to be repelled by a squad of sneaky cursed spirits Gito summoned. Mahito is about to make his move on Gito, but Gito decides to absorb Mahito. Gito then drops some knowledge bombs on Yuji about the maximum technique, Aka, the essence of techniques beyond the domain. Using cursed spirit manipulation, Gito unveils Maximum, Uzumaki absorbing Mahito and unleashing a swirling vortex of cursed energy. The reinforcements arrive, launching arrows and attacks at Gito. Miwa charges with her sword, but Gito just shatters it like it's made of cheap glass. Smooth move, Gito. Kusakabe jumps in to save Miwa, Panda rallies the troops, and Choso enters the scene. However, Choso uncovers his dark family secrets. The detestable Noritoshi Kamo, the most evil sorcerer in history, is to blame for the mess. Choso, fueled by sibling duty, attacks Gito with his blood manipulation. Panda, Kamo, and Yuji are left scratching their heads at the sudden family reunion. Just when things couldn't get more complicated, Yuram freezes everyone with her ice technique. Choso, facing imminent doom, tries to fight back, but Yuji, in a heroic gesture, jumps in to save his newfound brother. Yuram is about to unleash another icy attack when Yuki Tsukumo swoops in, stopping the freeze with a dramatic flare. With the stage set for a showdown, Yuki sends a flying kiss toward Gito, not realizing who might be lurking inside Gito's twisted mind. The situation has escalated, and Yuki is desperately trying to buy time for Laru to make a move. To do so, she engages in a tense conversation with Kamo, attempting to exploit the flaws in his plan. Yuki reveals that Kamo's detachment plan has a significant flaw. There are far fewer cursed spirits outside Japan. The barrier of Tenjin is crucial for the optimization plan, and monopolizing cursed energy within Japan would lead to global repercussions. Yuki argues that Kamo's vision doesn't align with the ideal world she envisions. Kamo's plan, limited by his own possibilities, needs a change. The key lies in chaos that can't be controlled, the entity with a black glow amidst the chaos. Yuki then abruptly turns to Yuji, inquiring about the cursed spirit Mahito. Yuji informs Yuki that Kamo has recently swallowed Mahito, adding an unexpected twist to the conversation. Kamo, not one to back down, uses ideal transfiguration to create a massive circle on the ground and in the sky. He has marked two types of non-sorcerers in advance, those who swallowed cursed objects like Yuji and those with techniques but lacking the brains of sorcerers like Junpei Yoshino. Kamo adjusts their brains to match those of sorcerers and releases them into the world. A chilling revelation follows. Kamo has given cursed objects to selected individuals, remnants of sorcerers he has contracted with over 1,000 years. These cursed objects transform the recipients into cursed spirits. Kamo bids farewell to Yuji as he unleashes a black mist that spreads across Tokyo and Japan, releasing more than 10 million cursed spirits. Chaos ensues and Japan descends into darkness. The government panics and cities face blackouts. The Jujutsu High Authority issues orders to disclose the existence of cursed spirits, claiming they will only appear in Tokyo. However, this plan goes awry as broadcasters are killed on live TV and cursed spirits attack people inside their homes. Amidst the chaos, a little girl faces a cursed spirit in a supermarket. A mysterious sorcerer intervenes, saving her from the clutches of the curse. The sorcerer, Rika, exhibits impressive skills and the ability to see cursed spirits. In the midst of this turmoil, Akatsu is tasked with the mission to eliminate Yuji. Jujutsu headquarters release notices, reaffirming the death penalty for Suguru Gito, listing Gojo as a co-conspirator and sentencing Masamichi Yaga to death for his involvement. The suspended execution of Yuji is now cancelled, and Yuta Akatsu is designated as the executioner for Yuji's death. That concludes the anime recap of Jumping People 101 Jujutsu Kaisen. Make sure you push that subscribe and let me know your thoughts below. I'm out.